Mr. Chairman, we are live.
Okay, welcome everybody. Today is Monday, March 27th. This is our weekly county commissioner meeting. This time I please ask everyone to rise and follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everybody's had a chance to look at the agenda. Is there any additions or corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Moved and second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We'll get right on into it. Our next agenda item is an action item. Claims, board order claims, and junior college. Rita, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I just had one question that I didn't know what it was.
I had a couple of questions. So the ICRAMP payment we took out of the PILT fund for the balance of the insurance payment.
We did, Commissioner Mopin. Unfortunately, we did not have enough in remaining cash from the tort budget. So when we collect the next, the second half tax payments, we will have enough. And then we will replace that with the payment we made out of PILT.
Okay. So we're just borrowing then. And then the OHV fund, is that for Parks and Rec?
No, that came out of the sheriff's, that's sheriff stuff.
Sheriff stuff, okay. All of the phone payments out of the sheriff's.
Yep, so that's for the new phones. Unfortunately, the billing did not get to my office, so I had not seen any of it. That goes back to December. The first part of that pays for the phones, which will be reimbursed, and then the monthly fees after that.
And Rita, do you remember what the monthly fee was for each one? Was it
I
over?
believe it's coming out to $50.19.
So it was a little more than the Verizon one.
Yep.
Hmm.
Apparently, they have a lot of little add-ons that we were not aware of at the time.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Hidden fees.
And then there was a non-insured title report.
I have no clue what that is.
That was requested from Larry Laxon. He had a title search conducted on a piece of property.
Okay.
And that the commissioners had approved that he conduct, and he did not have an expense line for that, so we took it out of the general fund reserve.
You know, was that on Boulder?
I believe it was on the Clear Creek or,
I
if
bet it was
We
on
gotta
Boulder.
ask him.
we can ask Larry, I don't know exactly which piece of property that was conducted on, but it was a title search.
Oh, Rita, my question was on Kevin Savant.
That's Snap-on Tools.
Oh, that's
So we're-
Snap-on Tools.
Yeah, he's private business, so the checks go directly to him.
So we have a subscription from them for every year?
It's something that Jeff pays for, so I'm not sure exactly what the subscription is. I know he had it last year as well.
Huh, I don't remember ever seeing that.
Yeah.
We did poll workers this trip.
Yeah, we had the election, the March election, so it's for the Cascade.
And then the 2 motorcycles for sheriffs, we had budgeted for that, correct? Or is that out of OHV?
That's out of the OHV.
It's out of
Okay.
OHV, and then they're trading in 2 motorcycles.
And I see where they got 5,000 on a trade-in, so that's good.
What are the motorcycles for?
Those are for the recreation sheriff deputies,
Backcountry guys.
Oh, I wasn't aware.
recreation patrol.
Yeah.
So of course, in the winter, it's snowmobile, and then in the summer, it will be
Summer's motorcycle.
motorcycles.
Oh, cool. I need to change jobs. I'd
Doug,
love that.
that title was in Donley. Section 22, 23, 24, Donley. So I'll ask you when we get.
And the tuition thing, that was pretty neat. I know 2 of the kids personally on that tuition.
Yep, well, those are repeats, so that's good.
Yeah.
Means they stayed in school.
Is that just our support through U of I? Is that what that is?
I'm not sure where the funds for that actually come. They come,
They come from the liquor allocation dollars, so liquor sales. A portion of the sales that we receive from the state, that goes and pays the junior college tuition fees.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're gonna end up seeing $8,000 early.
did they pass that?
They did. It was this much, but it passed both houses. It's on the way to the governor to sign.
Oh, great. My signature thing is gone.
Your stamp?
No, it's in your drawer. I was trying to find your. I'd be in
So
the
if there's
bottom.
no more questions, I'd entertain a motion on the claims.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the claims, order claims in junior college tuition.
Seconded. Hidden way down. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I was looking for your hearing.
Going through my stuff.
I was
She
tempted
buried
to
it.
use your stamp, but
You could use
just
it
once.
for a big check.
Nope.
Giant.
Trying to sign the best I can. I cut myself there.
Yeah.
All the places.
Your perfect little spot for pressure.
Mm-hmm.
The wire was just a little bit too stiff the other day.
Doug, where do we get the OHV fund money? I don't remember that one. Where do we get that?
So let me just bear with me one moment.
That's a pool I don't know that I remember spending out of OHV fund.
Mhm.
Where do we get those, do you know?
They get part of the licenses that they sell.
That's
I don't
all.
remember how much is in OHV, Doug,
Thank
do
you.
you?
I'm gonna
It's
share that
like-
with you. It's like, we have 40,000 in there.
Not much. They also use it
I'll
for
tell you where the revenue comes from.
tracks for the winter stuff too, UTVs, that kind of stuff. Okay, we're gonna take a 20-minute break and we'll be back shortly. Oh, you're ready to go, huh?
You see that look?
So we'll move on down to our elected official reports. First one up is Sue.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I guess I have, I'm sure all of you have been following the bills that have been introduced and that are getting approved. So House Bill 292 is going to be very huge. It'll be all hands on deck, but the Tax Commission is already on top of it, getting things ready to go for that. And then the assessors and clerks and treasurer will be very busy with all of that, but it's some much needed tax relief, especially for people receiving the homeowner's exemption
They have to have that applied for by,
by July.
so anything after July doesn't go on until the next year.
Well, they can still get the homeowner's exemption, but they won't qualify for House Bill 292 tax relief if they have not applied for their homeowner's exemption by July.
So it's not prorated,
Well,
or is it?
that's a separate subject. So
It's a lot of work as well.
it is a lot of work, but that's okay. That's all right. So for just the homeowner's exemption, the IAC has recommended that we follow what Latah County has done to prorate. Of course, I will be crossing over with our prosecutor office to make sure that that's what they would like to see us do. And then we will move forward and fall in line with that as well. Okay, we continue to, we are auditing all of our exemptions very closely. The prosecutor's office is helping tremendously, so we really appreciate their help on this. We're having a meeting on Wednesday morning, and then we'll get on the agenda to have you guys approve after the 15th.
So we'll get a list then?
We will, yes.
Okay.
We'll have a list for you.
So are those the nonprofit exemptions or what type, all exemptions?
We are auditing
Okay.
all exemptions, not the timber exemptions or the ag exemptions,
Okay.
but all the others, the religious institutions, et cetera, 501(c)(3)s, et cetera. So Neil, did you get to go to the BOE training?
No,
No? Okay,
didn't get to make.
okay. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I'm assuming the new homeowners exemption you'll put on the website so people will know. I
Yes,
just want to make sure we got that process figured out because I think that's going to be,
we will, as soon as we get it fine tuned and get a little more direction from the State Tax Commission, yes.
I know that we're headed, let's see, where are we going? I think it's May, we go to Moscow. There's a whole training on gonna be done at the IAC convention this time, the spring training
Oh,
convention. So,
great.
yeah.
Wonderful. And all you guys are going?
that's in June, isn't it?
Is it June? I can't remember.
Is
I
this,
think it's June 6th, 7th, and 8th or something like
What
that.
is that?
shows May 25th.
May
Yeah, if you
25th?
haven't- If you haven't registered yet. make sure
That's
and do
the
that.
spring meeting.
Oh, that's spring, yeah.
Oh, but this is the one I think where they're gonna spend a day on training. We were
6th,
asking.
7th, 8th, June.
Okay.
That's
So what
the
is
one
Moscow,
in Moscow.
Idaho.
So what is it?
And that's for commissioners?
It's just a
IAC.
one-day training.
IAC.
But that is this, I think that is the agenda for this one on May 25th. There's gonna be a lot of training. We were asking last week in the legislative committee, how are they gonna handle this? And Seth said they'd already scheduled a bunch of training.
Okay.
And then the DM fee, title
Yes.
fees.
So-
Are you hearing what other counties are gonna raise theirs to?
Well, I haven't got a consensus on everybody. So Brian Stender, the Canyon County Assessor, worked up a title admin fee type worksheet, calculator type deal. And so Meg has went back and she is working on kind of filling in the empty spaces to help us determine what we need for the county for it to be,
Okay.
break even.
Cover our costs.
Cover our costs, yes. And so we are on top of that and working on that. I don't have any exact numbers just yet.
I think I was reading somewhere that has to be turned in and approved by July 1st in order to.
Oh, yeah,
Change or
that'll
something.
be no problem.
Okay.
Because I'll have to bring it before you guys and you guys would have to approve the fees. There's been talk that we might also increase our bin inspection fee.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll address all that at once. You guys can approve it. Once it's approved by you guys, then we'll contact ITD and they'll get it updated in their computer system for us.
And Sue, just a reminder that any fees at the commissioner's approval need to be done by resolution.
Okay,
So if you would work with the prosecuting attorney's office, when a hearing is set for determining what those fees will be, a resolution would be required for that's our policy.
Hey, any more questions for Sue?
Good.
All right, thanks. Have a
thanks you
great day.
guys. Have a great day.
Mr. Miller. Good morning.
Commissioners, good morning. As Assessor Leeper indicated, House Bill 292 is at the governor's office right now. We don't know if he's going to sign it or just have it pass without his signature. But that is the property tax relief bill providing $355 million of property tax relief to individuals in the state of Idaho. That is going to require a lot of reworks of the L2 worksheets of how the payments are paid to the schools. So it's going to be a lot of work to be conducted in the next couple months. And the State Tax Commission is leading that, but it's going to require a lot of work from the assessors across the state, the clerks across the state, and the treasurers across the state. So we will be working closely with the State Tax Commission to make sure that Valley County is doing it correctly.
For 3 years.
Yes.
And then they'll change it all again.
Potentially. But we're ready just to discuss those changes with the State Tax Commission. Again, as I indicated, they will be leading that charge and working with all of the departments to make sure that it's done correctly. Today is the deadline for any wording on any bonds or levies that taxing districts want to do. They have until 5 p.m. to get those into our office. Right now, we are aware that the Cascade Medical Center is having a bond put on the ballot, as well as the Cascade Rural Fire is doing an override levy. So we do have those two that will be on the ballot in May. And we are aware that the North Lake Sewer and Water will be having an election. They did have 3 candidates submit by the deadline, which would require an election to be conducted. So that is the only other taxing district that will have an election on the May election. So
A quick question on that. Talking to Tom, I know it says up to $40 million. Do they actually levy for the full 40, or if they decide it's 31 or 36 or whatever? I mean, how do they determine that?
they have, that's a great question, Mr. Chairman, and I don't know, but my understanding is what is on the ballot is in fact what they are telling the general public that they're going after. So if it, I don't, of course, they can't go over that. If they are going to be doing a reduced amount,
Okay,
I
so
don't
if they
know.
come in with a lower number, then they would reduce it.
Correct.
Doug, I got a question on the House bill. I can't remember which one it was, where they were talking about just voting on May and the general election. Are they doing away with the March?
That's what the proposal was. I don't know if that in fact passed or not. That is something that we will follow up with, but I don't know if that had passed. I was aware that there was some House bills that were being presented to eliminate, I believe like you indicated, and just have those matters be heard on one election. I don't know if that passed or not.
That's part of House Bill 292.
But
That's
was.
the only part that the governor
part of it.
didn't like.
Uh,
But, so that would be the only question of whether he wouldn't sign it or not. But yes, that eliminates the March.
March election.
Those are typically those elections are for the school districts.
Isn't it March and August?
March and August are the ones for the school
Right,
district.
so everything would be May and November.
Well, August is still there right now. They only
Mm.
eliminated March because with this, that will eliminate the school levies or most of it. So they didn't feel the school districts would need a March one because they won't be passing those levies. We'll see.
Hey, and you have an action? Oh, go ahead.
Just a couple other things. Commissioners, our office did send out the notification to the elected officials and department heads regarding preparation of fiscal year 2024 budget. We have begun meeting with elected officials and department heads, just getting their preliminary requests. Once we have met with all of the departments and elected officials, we then will begin budget workshops with the commissioners. And I anticipate those will be done beginning the third week of April is when our first budget workshop with the commissioners will do. We're about a month ahead of schedule, which is great because we felt that we needed an additional time this year. But we are in the swing of things for budget preparation of fiscal year 2024. Lastly, courts. We had a great meeting with the Supreme Court. They came and provided one-on-one training with us last week. So we were very appreciative that the Supreme Court came. Administrative staff from the Supreme Court came just to make sure that we are following procedures correctly. So it was beneficial to have that. I also had a meeting with our district administrative district judge, Judge Hippler, and our trial court administrator last week just to discuss some district-wide matters. One of the discussions, of course, is regarding the public defender and how, if it is going to be a district public defender, what that's going to look like. All of those, it hasn't been completely determined how that's going to look yet, but we will be following that closely. And
Doug, just a quick question. Is Judge Dingledine still going down to Ada County 2 days a week?
yes, but
Did Judge Hippler say that's going to slow up? You didn't put the screws to him on that one.
he
huh?
has not given us any indication that our judge will no longer have to perform court in Ada County. At this point in time, that is still a requirement of Judge Dingledine to conduct hearings in Ada County on Thursdays and Fridays. Those discussions will continue to be had with our administrative district judge, but unfortunately, as of right now, Judge Dingledine is still being required to conduct those 2 days of court in Ada County.
You know, is he doing most of that Zoom?
He's doing most of those remotely.
Good.
But there are days where he has to go down there in person.
Hey, any more questions for Mr. Miller?
Okay,
All right, thank
Commissioners.
you. Mr. Noggle. Good morning.
Morning, all. Not a whole lot to report from the prosecutor's office. The criminal division remains very busy. The civil division as well. There'll be a purchasing training that Oak will be putting on Wednesday at noon. So make sure you remind folks to go to that. That'll be good. And then he's going to do another training in April on open records or open meetings and records. And he'll get a policy sort of written up and put in place, or at least written, so that he can get it out to folks before that training, and so if people have questions and stuff, they can reach out to him for that. It's April 1 is time for our renewal for our Westlaw contract. Just bringing that to your attention. We had to add another subscription to it with Ashley. And so that brings our cost up to almost $1,000 a month for Westlaw, which is,
Do you remember what it was before, Brian? Was it around 680?
yeah, it was six something.
That's what I was kind of wondering. 996.47 a month.
Yeah, now it's 996.47. It's straight robbery, but they know we can't live without it, and so we don't have much of a choice. There are other products that we've looked into, Lexus, but it's an inferior product that you're still paying a lot of money for. So
Do you get all that electronically, or is it a bunch of books?
no, it's electronic.
Electronic.
And that's it's basically like a Google search engine that allows us to search case law and things like that. And that's our primary method of doing legal research. So we don't,
Sure.
it kind of got us over the barrel there. But
Okay, this is an action item, so I need a motion. Please.
I would move that we approve the Westlaw contracts.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Everything there that we need to sign?
no, I think we can just sign
You can
it.
handle it?
Handle it. So anything, any questions for me?
You know, I'm waiting for the day when you walk up and say, "Ah, there's no crime."
Finally clean this place up. No, unfortunately, we're a ways away from that.
Yeah, I think so.
It's busy. Anything else? All right.
Don't
Thank
think
you,
so.
guys.
Thank you. Have a great day. Sheriff. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I really don't have much to report. We continue to receive state inmates in the jail, and
Oh, good.
as we take some out, we bring more back up, so, or Ada County brings them up, so. That seems to still be working and bringing in revenues for us, and snowmobiling is kind of slowing down, but our deputies are still going out and checking the parking lots and responding where they need to be.
Ever hear anything? So I reached out to Matt Sly to try and get ISP, just to have a conversation about this summer. Did you hear anything back from him?
Nope.
We'll follow up.
Have not. I know that last week, I think they had some training that, where all of them went to training, but.
Oh, we have two up here now?
Supposed to have
Yes.
3, but one of them retires in May.
So
I heard.
So Patty, when
that's where we are.
you rotate people out of the jail and they bring more in, where are the ones that are rotating out, where they go?
Those are going to, they're state sentenced inmates that are still being held in another county facility that's overcrowded. So we take their some of their overcrowding, and we house them and get paid by the state. And then when the state's ready for them, we take them, we have them taken.
So it's a
Put a pin.
shuffle all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
plus those that we arrest, on warrants or bring them in for DUIs or whatever.
We're a revolving door.
Yes.
Well, I think last I heard, it was a couple of weeks ago, Ada County and Canyon County were both pretty well full.
Oh, yeah, they are constantly.
So
Yes.
we got lots of options for them. We'll take them. Great.
That helps them with their, and they help us in other ways as well, so working together.
Okay, any more questions for Sheriff?
Nope.
All right, be safe. Thank you. Johanna. Didn't skip you this time.
Thank you for that, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Not a whole lot to update from the Treasurer's Office this week. Like the assessor and the clerk mentioned, House Bill 292 is going to be quite the change for our offices, and there will be a lot of work between now and when tax bills go out that need to go into implementing those new laws. So we'll be working with the Tax Commission on trying to have all of that run smoothly over the next few months. Other than that, we are, I was going to give you a little bit of a background. We collect the annual LID fees for the jug handle water system. We send those bills out March 1st, and they are due this year on April 3rd. So we've collected about 30 of those bills of the 53 that we send out. There's still a week left for people to get those paid, but that is another task that my office completes during kind of the off season for tax collection. When we get the new software implemented, the new Tyler software, we're hoping to move that process over to Tyler, which would help streamline things. Right now, we use a QuickBooks software to manage that on the side, and it's somewhat inefficient to use different softwares for managing different projects. So
And hopefully that'll be the last one we ever do.
I guess I don't have a say on that, but I'm happy to help collect.
Well, if you're sitting up here, you might have a say.
Right.
She would concur.
Other than that, still continuing to work through our master's facility planning and beginning to work on the comprehensive financial planning with Clearwater Financial. We have a couple meetings on that this week and hoping to make some good progress. As well as I'm working with Great West Engineering and Scott Klingen on the financial modeling for the transfer station. So that project is well underway, and we're meeting every other week on that for progress updates.
Johanna, on the Clearwater.
Yeah.
So I saw that a citizens committee has been brought together.
Correct.
Who's on that? How big is it?
So we reached out to 7 individuals. We had 6 confirm. I could actually read off the name of it for you. Give me 1 second.
Or countywide?
Countywide. So we have Eric Pingree, Jill Wright, Lindsay Harris, Scotty Davenport, Shauna Arnold, and Patrick Pratchett. And then we also reached out to another Southern Valley County resident. They're the one that is on the fence right now. They haven't confirmed whether or not they're going to join. And we are meeting for the first time on Tuesday. And the purpose of this committee is to get some feedback. So far, the interactions that Clerk Miller and myself have had with Clearwater Financial are from an internal perspective. So we work day to day in the buildings that we're analyzing, and we work with the staff who have to work here. We're hoping to get more of an outside perspective and get some recommendations and ideas on the proposals that we wouldn't be able to think of ourselves. So this Citizens Committee is really there to help review the information that comes out of these projects and help us make the best decision.
And then when does it go to a broader conversation with the communities? Because aren't they going to do community meetings?
I do not know if we're doing community
I
meetings.
think
at this
Clearwater
point.
does, don't they? Do they do too?
Well, we did some external stakeholder interviews. Maybe Clerk Miller can help me out with this. I don't know when on the timeline we would be doing community meetings unless we do go ahead and make the decision to go out for a bond. And at that point, we would go out for some external community
That is
informational
correct.
meetings,
Okay.
which we haven't made that decision yet. So those haven't been planned.
Johanna, just so you know, I've been in contact with Russ at Clearwater to help us RFP the bid for the shop, county shops.
Okay, yeah,
And Jeff and I have been working with them on things that we kind of have a bid from Jeff's old engineer, but I wanted to see if we couldn't cheapen that up a little bit. And Russ is supposed to get back to us sometime this week,
that's great.
just so you're in the loop.
I've really enjoyed working with Insight Architects. They've done a phenomenal job. They're very thorough and very knowledgeable.
Yeah, and they've already been a big help on our design, original design, so hopefully that'll be coming this week and we'll go from there. The other thing, and I'm not trying to load this committee up, but I wonder if Kirby Robertson might be good on there since he is a banker and kind of understands public financing pretty good.
Okay.
I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at the list. We're a little light on the Southern Valley County residents on the committee, and so if we add anyone else, I was really hoping it to be someone from Cascade or even south of Cascade, if possible. That's just the way that it worked with people accepting the invites. We reached out to a broad group of individuals, but having one person from South Valley County say no means that it's tilted a little bit more towards the northern end. So we'll take that into consideration. We did have one backup person planned if this individual does indeed decide not to join the
Okay.
committee. Other than that, working on the budget with Clerk Miller, I will get my time scheduled in the next week or two and get all of that finalized and off my plate. I will schedule a time at the commissioners meeting next week to discuss with you the most recent maturity of the ARPA dollars invested. So you'll be seeing a lot of me as those mature once a month. So we'll have another $1 million coming due on April 4th. We
Oh,
will
good,
chat
good.
again next week.
Rates are up again.
Yes, they
All
are.
right. Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
We're gonna move on into department heads. Annette, come on up. Good morning.
I don't have a lot either. We're getting busier. We've issued 30 permits. We've got several waiting to be picked up. They're just waiting, I guess.
Are they all residential?
It varies.
Or-
We have had a couple pours. People are starting to pour concrete, so they're just moving the snow and
Ooh,
Wow, that's,
they're waiting to,
What you gotta do with a shortened building
Yep.
window.
it's getting shorter and shorter.
And the ground's not frozen underneath there, so.
We're getting some scanning done. We have a new person starting next week.
good,
Yeah.
good.
He's just
You're gonna be
go-
here for Pat's discussion? Good.
That's about all I got.
Hey, any questions for Annette?
nope.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ned.
Skip. Good
You
morning.
know what? Hold on one second while Annette's there. So we did talk with Scott Klingon about, and I don't remember if it's on here, but her floor in that office space appears to be starting to slope more. So I talked with Scott about potentially getting somebody in here to take a look at the building structure itself. So Doug, I don't know if we have that on for approval or not.
Which way is it sloping? In your office or in the main office?
Where Tony sits.
Tony
Is
sits.
the floor
and-
starting to sink?
It has went more, but
Yeah,
it can be fixed.
Just one corner.
this one corner, yeah,
Oh my-
but just let you know,
Interesting.
Scott is gonna try and get a structural engineer in here, so.
And that's not over the boiler room, is it?
It's the little
It's-
closet right before. that.
Yeah, where they used to keep the license plates in that little closet.
I just wanted to make sure I gave you guys that heads up.
Well, we can get to it from underneath, so maybe we can easy fix. Okay, thanks.
Sorry, Skip. I'd do it while it was on my mind or I'd forget it.
No problem. So we had the first joint training with the Sheriff's Department. Our prosecuting attorney wasn't available, but we're having another one tomorrow because there was patrols that split it up in two sections. There's a couple things that came up just for clarification on the legal side, then a few others of our practices that we've done for a long time that are really within the jurisdiction of the judge, like discretionary time. So some questions to be asked, maybe re-looking at a few things and how we did it, but it was good. It was productive. Got some good ideas came out of it. So we'll finish that up on Tuesday. Edie's on vacation this week, so I'll be doing that, taking care of any juvenile issues. I had to hook a GPS up on one of our kids yesterday down in Boise. It went fine. Other than that, I guess I just have a question about V Corp. And I keep promising you those protocols, but we did our first one with Rise to Thrive, but I was absent the meeting before that because I was sick when I was supposed to present the protocols. So I presented them, then we had that meeting with Rise to Thrive. And since going through there, I learned a lot and we're kind of revising it. But one of the questions came up. So Appendix A it describes how the money can be used. Okay? It's A, and then there's numbers 1 through 14, whatever, through F, I guess. And part of the discussion is how much commissioners, you really want us to say, yes, this fits, or yes, it kind of fits, and give you discretion. I mean, I kind of read it just exactly as it says and feel like it should stay in there. But there was just people that felt like maybe we were outside of our box to do that, and just wanted your direction on if it's
Well, you know, Skip, with the latest stuff that's been going on with the AG's office, some of these other groups, we got to be careful on this opioid money. The fact that it's only for opioid, not substance abuse. So if you can tie in the opioid to substance abuse, then I think that's a reasonable.
Well, some of them will say just, opioid substance use. Some will say opioid use, SUD, and co-occurring mental health, So just as we read through this and look at these requests, I guess what I'm asking is, do you want us just to match exactly to what it says? Not just like if it's close. Because then what we're going to do as a steering committee, we're going to say, okay, yes, absolutely, this looks like it qualifies per the language in that Appendix A. No, we don't think it does. Or maybe, it's close. And ultimately, the consortium has the final vote, not the steering committee, when we take this and you get a letter from us. So as the steering committee, I guess, and as the consortium, would you like us just to go specifically by what it says, or have if it's kind of close, say?
I think it's a broader conversation, because if we have to prove these funds were spent correctly in the future, what is our mechanism to do that? And I can't answer that right now. And so to answer your question, if we're going to use this letter as documentation moving forward, then it needs to be pretty explicit. But I don't know the protocols. Doug, do you? I mean, as far as how we have to respond?
I have to report specifically to the Attorney General's office of how those funds are being expended.
Okay.
I have to do that on a yearly basis. So the dollars that have been approved by the commissioners, the entities that the contributions have made to have to provide me with a detailed account of how those funds are being expended. And then I provide that and submit it to the Attorney General's office. The protocol that we have in place is, instead of those entities still have to come to the commissioners for approval, but there was a thought process that V Corp would, I guess, vet those requests before they came to the commissioners. That's what the commissioners' initial instructions were.
Well, and what we were asking of you is this a duplication of services? And is it something that is focused on opioid use? Now, if Doug already has to get into the weeds with everything else, I don't know that we have both of you do it, but is this helpful to you and your reporting mechanism?
I don't think it's helpful to me in the reporting, but it's helpful to the commissioners when they are making the approval or making the decision to approve a request from these entities when they're coming to you requesting those opioid settlement funds. I think it makes sense that V Corp, which was set up to not necessarily approve the expenditure of these funds, but it was a group developed to discuss how opioid treatment is being conducted in our community. And then when those entities, again, are coming to the commissioners to request these opioid settlement funds, I personally think it makes sense to have the V Corp vet those contribution requests. Now, that doesn't mean that they have the say if the commissioners are going to approve those requests or not. It's just you have a group of professionals that are not necessarily overseeing the process, but are aware of what is being conducted for treatment in the community.
And we are so the verification of duplication of services, that's easy for us, right? And that's step one. But just some of the language, it's might be interpretable, so we can give our very best guess to, yes, this fits in here. But I just wanted to clarify that. So when we give our opinion to the consortium, who's going to make the final vote, right? We're part of that, so I'll have a vote in it. Just to be as clear to the letter in the Appendix A as possible before we say yes. And I see going forward that we might have some dissent, which is healthy. We might have a couple that say yes and no. But would you like on the letter that you get, say, yeah, there was some nays and yes, but it was voted through or unanimous or?
I don't need to know that there were nays as long as it's a majority of the group that is, recommending it. That's my
Well,
opinion.
and the thing to remember is really the buck stops with us, because if we're wrong, it's going to be us that gets in trouble. I appreciate V Corp's input, and whether you want to put the vote on is totally up to you guys. But I just know that it has to be tied into opioid use, and it can't just be tied into any substance abuse.
Well, it can, Mr. Chairman,
It depends on what it is.
Yeah.
It depends on what it is.
Yeah,
But
there's some, like I
very
said, will say
broad.
SUD
it is right.
and co-occurring. And I mean, you have to read each one to determine, but that's one of the requests we're going to make. Instead of them coming to us, and like I said, it's a new process. We're going to give them the Appendix A. We're going to say, ultimately, it's your choice. And we're going to refer them to Doug. We're going to let them know. And if we forget, I'm sure Doug will remind them, hey, you have to report this to me, and he can work up the details. But we're just going to ask them specifically, we're going to give them the appendix, identify where you qualify, instead of us going through it all and trying to figure it out in the future.
Well, and that puts the onus back on them too, and any liability if they're not honest with that. So there is no liability to V Corp if you haven't made that determination.
So back to my original, when we look at this, you want us just to go specifically by what it says. Don't
I would stick to it as close as you can.
we
would
can.
too.
Really skip. Yeah, I wouldn't
Okay.
get too far out in the weeds because we might get caught.
That's the way I felt too. Like
Yeah.
I said, ultimately, we can give you our opinion and our vote, but it's up to you. But I do think it would help, especially with the duplication of services. And they are experts in the field with this stuff.
Well, and my feeling is if it doesn't have anything to do with opioid, come at us anyway. There may be other funds that we could use for that program
Agreed.
and not get ourselves into trouble using the opioid funds.
Okay. Well, other than that, there is a 11:30 request from Rise to Thrive. Do you want me to stick around for that? Or otherwise I'll,
I'm sure you have other things to do, so.
Yeah, we can probably get that one okay.
okay. Questions for me? Thank you.
All right,
you.
thanks. Melissa. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to report out on what I've been doing, what I'm currently into, and then what I have planned for the future. I attended the Digital Access BSU meeting that was at McCall. I was really grateful that I was there because it was just me and one other person.
I so wanted to go and I had to leave town before then.
I was surprised to
Darn.
see that there wasn't a lot of representation and voices there. So I hope people are reaching out to those researchers by email or phone call or whatever to give feedback, because that's an important issue. I think if they're spending their time to look at it in Valley County, it'd be great for Valley County to give them their voices. And so I can give you the contact names. If you don't have that in your email, I can forward you that email that I received.
This was on broadband. They're doing a full check on broadband and broadband services.
But the positive thing is that I could cover, from my professional and personal experience, McCall down to Cascade, and the other person that was in the room was McCall clear down to Council. And so we had the whole 95-55 corridor, and they were getting some really good information from the two of us on our experience. And so I do feel good about being in that space. It was a good meeting. Ranchers Feeding Youth, Allison and I both did that last week in Cascade. I've been continuing to be part of the ELAC, which is the Early Childhood Learning Committee. That's a subcommittee from the Economic Development Council. And I followed up with a connection I made at the Pollination Summit to do a Zoom interview with a grad student about her pollinator research. And then I edited that video and plugged it into an online platform that I'm learning called Canvas. And I'm excited about that because I think it's going to be a really great way to keep content organized. And it's like a Blackboard type of platform that universities use. I think they're moving over to Canvas. And there's a free for teachers platform that you don't have to pay for. And so I think it's just making the quality of classes that I'm offering at another like deeper level where people can get to information in an organized way and not like, oh, where was that email with that information? Or I'm excited to learn it. And I like the professionalism that it's adding to the classes. And so I edited that video interview and put it onto that online platform. The Victory Garden series has launched for the Lunch and Learn. Tomorrow I'll be doing annual evaluations with the assistance of Pat. So thank you for being there. For the staff, Jill, Katie, and Allison in the office. And then I have a pollinator lesson for the McCall Middle School on Wednesday. And then next week, we'll be doing the active shooter training provided by the county. And March 31st is the deadline for the Cascade Arts Walk. And so our applications for local artists are due. We decided rather than doing taxidermy forms that we're going to do decoy forms. And so we're going to be doing some owls, and they're in my office and they're very cool. And I really like seeing the applications come in, and I love seeing that it's local artists. It's like predominantly Cascade folks. And so that's really, really cool to see that talent emerge. And then an update for 4-H programs. Allison successfully had a steer weigh in. Katie and Allison, they have the after-school program going, and that is for Donnelly and Cascade. It's been a hit. And the youth go home and they share the healthy recipes with families. Today, it's my understanding that you might be stopping by at lunch, and I wanted to make sure you make a little time because we're going to have the STEM trailer training today at our office. And so you'll have a chance to take a tour of that STEM trailer and see what it looks like.
What are we doing today at lunch? We haven't heard this.
No, you haven't? That,
That's on the agenda.
Okay.
11:55.
Oh,
perfect. And so we'll see you there.
Oh, okay.
And you'll have a lot to squeeze in, but between lunch and that activity and a tour of the STEM trailer. But I just wanted to put it on your radar that that's an opportunity today to take a look.
Service award representation.
And then the Valley Adams Large Animal and Livestock Program, that will be happening this weekend at Payette Middle School. And that has 5 stations and 4-H volunteers to be able to do more in-depth learning for large animal livestock. And the next week, Allison's going to be attending a 4-H Tri-State Conference, and she'll be presenting on drones and giving a demonstration for other 4-H professionals for Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. It's like a Western region conference. It'll be done in Boise. So that is some updates of things coming out of our office. Any questions?
Melissa, do you know how many steers she's got signed up for the fair?
I don't have those numbers, no. But I know the program's growing.
What was the price?
Depending.
All right. Any more questions from Melissa?
We're good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pat. Morning.
How are you?
Still here.
Yeah, it's Monday, isn't it? All right. I have 2 action items. Let's get those out of the way and then I can do updates. The first one is we need to create the hiring committee for the human resource director position. I think it closes next week or the week after, so it's pretty close. We have several good
We
applications.
have amazing applicants.
Yes, we do. So Sherry's been helping with the vetting just because she is liaison for HR. So,
You want to stay on that committee? Fine with me.
yep. And then I was thinking maybe the clerk and somebody from the sheriff's office for sure.
Okay.
And I'm open to any other suggestions, but we don't want it to be too big. So as I say that, we usually like to keep the hiring committee to 3 or 4. And if we bring the clerk and the sheriff's office and Sherry and me, that's 4. So we're probably at max.
Just if I could make a request that someone from the prosecuting attorney's office also participate, either the prosecuting attorney or a delegate, Chief Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Brian Oakey. I think it would be important for a member of the prosecuting attorney's office to be included. I necessarily, if don't need to participate, but I do think it would make sense for another elected official to be on the committee. But would ultimately leave the decision up to the commissioners.
We got Pat, Sherry, the clerk, the sheriff. Do you have any idea from the sheriff's department, Sheriff?
That was probably brand new news to her.
New news to her, huh?
Because we're replacing you, should you be on that hiring committee? That would be my only question.
Well,
Well-
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, just based on my experience.
Yeah. I think that's very
That was a hard
wise. Brian, do you guys have a concern about being on this committee? Okay,
All right,
do you need a motion for that?
probably.
I'll make a motion that we set up a human resources hiring committee to consist of our president HR, Commissioner Moppin, a representative from the clerks, the sheriffs, and the prosecuting attorneys.
I'll second that.
Excuse me. It's been moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And I anticipate that if we have a couple of really close ones, we may have a second interview with the 3 of you, kind of a circumstance, so just to finish it off.
And
Just
then
keep that in mind. It'd
I'm
be the
assuming you'll let
executive-
us know as far as if there's a concern with salary or anything like that.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Okay. The next action item is the building department. So I know Annette's been emailing back and forth with this. And so what we want to do, well, first off, she has quite a bit of budget left over, or a budget left for the year, mainly because we haven't hired the building technician yet. He starts next week. One of the things that we did as we were going through this reorganization process is that we realized, or I realized, that I might have overpriced the building technician position at budget time. And I suspect we've probably kind of changed the job description after it went through budget anyway. So with that in mind, one of the things that we talked about as part of the strategic plan is we need to provide people with some type of direction as to where they can go when they're in a position. And so for the building department, it's like a permit tech 1 is the one that's just getting started. They're learning the position. Once they become certified, they're able to do the position effectively, as easy for me to say. Anyway, we can move them to a permit tech, and the same with the building inspector. So the hierarchy would be permit tech 1, the building technician, permit, is that the way? Let me look for it first. No, other way around. So permit tech 1, permit tech 2, building technician, building inspector 1, and then building inspector 2. And so that would, and then of course directors on top. So that would be the hierarchy.
So the building inspector 2, is that including the commercial and the industrial? So those are ones, so as you move through this progress and you learn the basic skills, what kind of certifications are required, or certificates of training, anything like that to go on to that second step?
So the building one would have like a residential inspector certification. They have to do that within the first year. But then as they become more advanced in the position, so the commercial, which would probably include the industrial, so if they become certified in being able to do commercial inspection, that would move them up to the next level. So it is a progression. They don't, if they just stay at having the residential certification, they wouldn't move up into the 2.
Okay.
So each one is a salary increase
Yeah, it's 6%.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what we did at the road department, isn't
It
it?
is very much like we
Just
did
like
the
the
road
road
department. We've done it. The sheriff's office does it naturally because, of the post certifications in there 1, 2, and 3. The assessor's office is very much like that. The 1 is in the training as far as an appraiser. Appraiser 2 is more just the baseline appraising. As they get into ag or into commercial, then they move up a level. Actually, I think ag is still a 2, but they move up a level. So there are many other positions. Court clerks have the levels as well. So
What about
it just
planning and
gives somebody
zoning,
coming
IT?
in an opportunity to say, okay, I can stay here for my whole career if I want, but if I want to progress and if I want to move up, this is what I need to do to get to that next level. I think that's really important.
Well, I
People
think it is
don't
too,
want to
Pat.
stay where they're at, and not everybody wants to supervise. So it gives them an opportunity to move up without having to go into a supervisor role.
So Pat, I don't know, maybe this is more a question for Annette, but if you learn how to permit like foundations and then framing and then roof, is that all one part of a permit tech 1
It's certification.
certification in that?
If you're inspecting, it'd be the inspector one. Is that what you're asking?
So there's not like a one for foundation, not one for framing, not one for, it's all in one piece.
All in one piece.
Okay,
A commercial is gonna be totally different.
right. I just thought maybe we could use that too, but you're saying it's all part of one and then.
And we can do it however we need to do it, however you guys wanna do it.
Yeah,
So-
right now, like, in our current building inspector has a commercial inspection certification. So, if you look at it that way, then he probably would move into a 2.
But you're still sending out some commercial plans, right? Annette?
Planning is different, so we're talking inspection, not plan.
No, that's right. Okay, thank you.
I think this should be in all of our departments, honestly. I think that there should be upward progression and mobility in each one of the departments.
Which you will see
Commissioner-
that on
Jeremy
the
said it
budget.
does.
Commissioner Mopin, that's what the clerk's office thought process is as well. And we are hesitant to support that this is being done during budget season.
Right.
We feel that it probably should be absolutely reviewed and conducted, but not improved until after the fiscal year budget 24 is set. But that is just the opinion of the clerk's office, that we understand that the need for these type of rankings to be done or classes to be done, but we're hesitant to support this during mid-budget year.
Doug, here you got a situation where there's some extra funds in that. Is it okay to go ahead and start that now?
That's ultimately the decision of the commissioners, but I do anticipate that there's going to be other departments that are going to be wanting to do this year as well. Potentially the sheriff's office, potentially probation, potentially planning and zoning. So I think that is something that the commissioners have to take into consideration.
So planning and zoning we've worked on, it'll be part of the budget process. They have no budget. They have no budget leeway to be able to add it.
Right.
Probation, court services, same thing. They're going to be going through that type of process. They don't have any budget to be able to move anybody up until budget time. Most of the other departments already have the levels in place.
What about IT?
IT has, you can do the IT technician, then you can move up into the network analyst, and then, they do have progressions, they're just different. But it really depends. So in Dylan's case, if he wants to go back to school, get more certifications, and that could move him up into another level within IT. So some of them have them, while they're not 1, 2, or 3 like levels, they still have progression within the department. And that's really what we're looking at. Planning and zoning, it's the same thing. They don't necessarily have a 1, 2, or 3, but what they will have is they do have in a planner 1 and a planner 2. And then they have their code compliance, and then below that is an office specialist. So there is that progression there, but it doesn't mean that they're 1, 2, or 3. It's just different depending on what the needs of the department are.
And I'm assuming you're gonna do a lot of this through job descriptions and
Job
all
descriptions,
that
through the
stuff.
budget, through the salaries, how does this all fit together? And, we'll have some progressions in some of these departments and nobody will be in them.
Right.
But it does give the employees some direction as to where they can go. I think that's important. Part of the strategic plan as well.
well, for long-term careers, I think it's
Yes,
very important.
absolutely. We need to keep who we have, for sure.
And just show them how to get there. I mean,
Yes.
what training is required and
Exactly.
that type of thing is important, so. I
Exactly.
understand Doug's concern. I understand the fact that you have extra funding. But we don't want to, we don't want people thinking that they can do this during the year on an ongoing basis.
Right,
So,
No, but I think it gets us ready for next budget to do,
it does.
start it
can.
now, let's not wait till next year to start it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
so
that's a-
this is an action item 2, do you need a motion for this too?
I do, and so as part of the motion, whether this is going to affect October 1st or whether it'll go into effect now, that's up to you all. You need to make that decision. I cannot.
And you're saying there's enough funds in there now because you haven't filled this position since last October?
Yeah, and it was priced higher than it needed to be.
And that position's going part-time instead of.
Yes, it'll be part-time instead. I forgot that part.
And that is part of the teaching have to do with prints, understanding and being able to read prints and all that. So that is part of the training. Good.
Okay, so what's your pleasure?
I think we make a motion to, like you say, approve it till October 1st. Get this started.
well, if we get it started, it goes into effect today and they get a salary increase today. Versus
We were
waiting
wanting to
until-
postpone that until October 1st. Do we want to just postpone the whole motion till then?
No, but just whether you want the salary to get increased now, which is what I believe Annette is asking for, versus waiting until October 1st. Do the salary increase along with the budget.
What was your guys' feelings on that?
I don't know. I'm really struggling with this one, simply because you have something in your budget doesn't mean you have to spend it. I mean, it was put there. And I don't think we need to set precedents to do this in the middle of budgeting cycles. That's what, there's a budget for a reason, and I think that's what we need to make sure and adhere to. So, I guess I'm probably leaning toward October 1 because I don't want to set precedents as we move forward. I don't think it's fair. There's a lot of times that our positions don't get filled, in the middle of the budgeting cycle. So,
Whatever you guys want to do, I'm willing to start it now. We've done it before, but it's just for the building department.
If you decide to postpone it, then you could decline the action item and it'll be part of the budget. Decline to do this now is what I'm trying to spit out.
And Annette, you have quite a bit in your budget still, though. Is that what we were talking about? I'd make a motion to go ahead with it then. Go ahead and approve this.
And it starts right away.
Yes.
I'll second that motion. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion. All those against?
I'm still struggling with this. I'm going to say no. Just to put it on record, this is not something we want to start in the county where we're trying to maneuver in the middle of budget cycles. So,
But the motion did pass.
It'll probably go into effective April 1st, just to make it easy from a payroll standpoint.
Hey, anything else?
Yes, I do. And not on that one. Okay, we are starting 3 new employees next week. One of them, of course, is a building tech. One of them is a new DMV clerk to replace Sierra Snap, who is leaving. And the other one is court clerk. So we do have 3 people starting on Tuesday of next week.
Very good.
Yeah, now if we
Good
can just
news.
get people in sheriff's office, I'll really be happy. Along with Meg Crum, we're going to a career fair at CWI on Wednesday, which is exciting. I like to see those young kids and try to get them to come up. We can get some Marine deputies or some people for weeds. It's going to be a success. But if nothing else, we're putting into their minds that we have a great place to work up here. Not only from a geographic standpoint, but as a good place, a good employer. We're a strong employer up here. So
Have you talked with the Master Gardener program to try and, I would check with Melissa and see if there's anybody in that Master Gardener program that would be interested in weeds again. I actually was doing a discussion with the leadership class, and there were 2 women in that were taking Master Gardener, and they challenged each other to do this. So
oh,
we'll
awesome.
see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Steve and Melissa talk a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there is some of that going on as well. One of the things that we're going to do, it might be next week. I don't remember. Days are running together rather quickly. We are going to go over to the school, and they have their lunch and learn. And so we have set up a team, and those that are turning 18 really quickly are good candidates for this seasonal weed position as well. So we're going to try to convince them to come along. One of the other things that's happened along those lines is for detention, they are able to now bring 18-year-old employees on instead of waiting until they're 21 for detention. And so that's another thing that Mike LaCroix will also be working on as people turn 18. It's kind of scary to have somebody that young in there, but that's a good place to start.
Maybe job shadowing. I think the sheriff agrees with you.
They'll be screened like.
Yes, yeah. But there are some, I don't know whether I want to put that on record or not, what I thought was going, the thought that was going on in my head, I probably oughtn't say. Then I'm also, Jeff and the road supervisors will be doing an interview with a prospective road department employee tomorrow as well. So I do want to hopefully work with Jeff on some opportunities that maybe we can work with Department of Labor on some opportunities to bring people in that are strong equipment operators but are working towards their CDL. We should be able to work something out, but that really is Jeff's call. All I can do is present it to him and let him go from there. I think that's all I'm working on. It feels like I'm working a whole lot more because my list keeps getting longer instead of shorter, but that's all I can think of right now.
Pat, I guess the only thing I wanted to add on the interviews for the new position, I know you'll have some discussion about workman's comp and how, make sure they know how to do all that, because that's gotten us in trouble in the past.
Yes, definitely. That'll be part of the training as well.
Good.
So, that I've been training the departments as best I can, that whenever anybody is injured, they need to let us know, because that's our first trigger.
Okay.
And then we don't report every single one of them, but if they say somebody fell on the ice or whatever out here, oh, I'm fine, they jump up and come in and then find out that they messed up their patella, like somebody did, then at least we have record that it happened here and not on their walk to work. So, the departments are pretty well trained on that. So,
Good.
Did I mention that I'm off on Thursday as well? I don't remember if I mentioned that.
I've got a whole list of questions that have already been designed for the interviews too. I don't know if you guys want to see those or if you want any.
If you got them electronic, yeah, you could shoot them over.
Yeah, I wanted to review them one more time before I sent them out, but
You
Sherry
never
and I
know.
worked back and forth on that.
So Pat, you hit all departments on that workers' comp part, because that's important. I've always fired off on my men. You fall, you get hurt, you cut yourself, let me know now.
Exactly.
Because they kind of frown out on it a week later.
Well, yeah, because how do you prove that you injured yourself here or not at
Yeah,
home over the
exactly.
weekend or, in the evenings? And it actually protects the employees as well.
That's good employees know that, because that's super important.
It's absolutely important. So yeah, it's talked about during the new hire orientation as well. Just really honing it in.
Yep.
Because it really is important. You just don't always know. You can bounce up and think you're fine, and by, and this happens on Friday, by Monday, you can hardly move. So you just
Some of
always
us
know.
don't bounce, we splat.
I'm getting there. Yes, I am there. What am I saying? So,
Okay,
Anyway.
anything else for Pat?
Good.
all right.
All
cool.
right, thanks. Jeremy? Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Chairman. Few things. As far as what we're working on, we're still working on deploying the PCs. We're down to basically the sheriff's office at this point.
Well, good, you're almost done.
Almost done getting there. See the light at the end of the tunnel. The Tyler implementation is moving along. We're still having our bi-weekly meetings. We're still working on converting our data. Gave them a second data poll on Friday with some reports and some screenshots. So they're getting all that into the new system, and looks like everything's on track. Getting that up and going at the end of the year here. I will be off on this weekend, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. Take some time off. So I'm gonna go down.
Well, happy birthday.
Thanks.
We never get off on our birthdays.
My birthday was yesterday and I got it off.
Well, happy birthday.
We've talked in the past about doing some cybersecurity assessments, and I know I've mentioned a couple times that the state has been working on standing up a program through the Secretary of State's office and the National Guard. Provide that to counties at less cost than it would be for just a company that does it. So in light of that, I'm having a meeting with them on Thursday to see how that looks and to start that process.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah, let us know on that, because I think that's kind of good to go through once in a while.
yeah, absolutely.
Good.
The only other thing I have, something I wanted to bring up that I've been working with Oki on. I don't have an action item, but maybe in the near future I might. There's a company out there called Cloudflare, and they're big in the security space, the online internet security space. And they have a project called Project Athenian, where they offer some of their enterprise offerings to state and local governments in support of elections infrastructure. And they do like DDoS, denial of service mitigation, and making sure connections are secure and things like that. And the reason I bring this up is because I've been working with him on, we don't have to sign anything, we don't have to pay for anything because they offer for free. But where I got hung up is, a lot of these services have terms of services that you have to agree to in order to use their offerings. And I was kind of working with him to figure out where the line is between reviewing absolutely everything, or if there are things that I can make a call on, especially in light of the fact that if we reviewed every terms of service for every piece of software that the county uses, we would be in fights with Google, Amazon, Adobe, things like that. So I don't know if he wants to say anything on that, but it's something that I want to look at implementing, but I'm trying to figure out if these are kinds of things that I need to go through, like the whole process on, or if these are things that I can make decisions on a basis.
As Jeremy mentioned, we did spend some time visiting about this issue, and I felt like this is something that you needed to be briefed on and given an opportunity to weigh in on. From a legal perspective, the cloud, what's it called? The
Cloudflare.
Cloudflare product. There are no legal issues with that. And I am perfectly fine as long as you are okay with giving Jeremy and other department heads and elected officials some authority to just make the call on those kind of things. Now, the reason there's no legal issue is because, and this is what I'm primarily looking for in these agreements, and this is going to be unique actually. The legal restrictions we have to be careful of is committing to multi-year contracts when we have not set a budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So I'm always looking at that first. That's not an issue with this one, but I don't think we're going to run into very many of those. However, you take the Westlaw contract that the prosecutor's office presented earlier, and they have, because they're a big company, much like Adobe and much like these others, they have a lot of government clients. So they have a section of their contract that says, for our government clients, here are special terms and conditions that we know you're going to require. Things like choice of venue is the location where the product's being deployed. There is an appropriation clause that says, even though that was Westlaw is a 36-month contract, it says that if we get to the budget setting cycle and we do not have an appropriation for that contract, we have an out of that. And that is already there. So I guess what I'm saying is, and we're kind of hitting you with this, Colt. So if you need some time to think about this, and we can revisit it next week or whenever you feel it's appropriate, I do think that the cover sheet needs to go on all of these agreements, but if we can have maybe a tiered review process where we can assess the risk and say, this is a low risk, we're going to have the cover sheet approved, but the director gets, the director or the elected official can have the discretion of just going ahead and signing it. That creates a more expedited process. It's not going to bog Jeremy down. It's not going to bog me down quite as much. So,
Jeremy, you said this was just for election security. Is there other security involved with this too?
Yeah, so they offer some of their enterprise offerings for in support of elections. So protecting the website itself, but along with that comes some other things that they also allow you to use for some on-premise protections that I wanted to look at as well.
If you take a different example like Adobe, where we are paying a fee, and we've got in our renewal process for those subscriptions, we either have limited that to a 12-month contract or we have an appropriations clause there. That checks the box for the legal issues. Everything else is really just a risk assessment. So if they have a choice of law in California instead of Idaho, for example, for Adobe, and I'm just pulling stuff out of thin air, even though my advice is always let's try to negotiate and get the choice of law in Idaho, because that puts us in a much better position. If we're willing to take the risk and you are all aware of it, I'm fine with that. It is not a legal impediment for us to sign a contract that says that the choice of law is somewhere other than here. I just want to make sure that this board and the director's office is aware of what those risks are. And if you're willing to take the risk, I'm not going to raise a stink over that, because the reality of it is, if we're unsatisfied with Adobe as an example, and IT is really a good department to talk about. If we're unsatisfied with any of the products that we have in place, our best option is to just at the end of that contract period not renew it and go with somebody else. Mm-hmm. We're very unlikely that we're going to end up tied up in court over a contract dispute. We're really just going to say we're dissatisfied with customer service, or the product didn't do what we felt like it would, and we're going in a different direction. So those are low risk things that, if we can expedite those review processes, and I have a couple of ideas where we can color code that cover sheet that shows, here's some renewals that, just makes it easy to spot that we've had this product in place for a long time. We're just renewing from prior years. Everything's good to go. And that's yellow color coded or whatever. But also in that description box on the front, on that cover sheet, the department head can say, I've looked at this. I see that choice of law is in Oregon, not in Idaho. I think that I'm willing to take the risk. I won't spend or waste any time on that. And Jeremy and others don't have to either. And that gives me a good indication that they've read it. They understand exactly what they're signing.
I think we have to expedite some of these things as we move
Yeah,
forward.
I
You know,
think
and
my-
also give responsibility. We have very intelligent directors. That's why they're the directors of their
Exactly.
departments. And
And my time and Jeremy's time can be better spent than trying to go back and forth with the sales rep for Adobe, you know, that takes weeks or months at a time to negotiate something that's not as critically important. But that being said, and this is what I told Jeremy, I wanted your okay before we launched something like that.
I think the most important thing is on the terms of service, that it is those 1-year contracts. I mean, everybody's got to be watching that,
Yeah, and
making
those-
sure we're renewing correctly.
Yes, and that's required under the law. We can't unless, I mean, with very few exceptions, we have got to negotiate either a limited term contract for 12 months or an appropriations. And we get a price break if we commit to multi-year agreements, which is fine. And I've got standard appropriations language that we say we can do a 36-month contract as long as this is included in it. And so far, everybody's been amenable.
Well, and I agree with Sherry. I think you're smart enough to figure out, hey, this is going to get us in trouble. This isn't. But the old saying, if it involves money, we need a 30-day get-out clause on those. If it doesn't involve money, then that's kind of your.
So now there are going to be others that just isn't going to fit cleanly within this box, like where you're building, you're going to build a new structure for the road department. Those are something that we've got to invest the time and the resources to make sure that we have a meeting of the minds, and everybody that is a contractor on those kinds of projects, we know exactly what we're getting and what the expectations are. Those are higher risk that we need to spend some time on. But the things that Jeremy's dealing with on almost a daily basis are the same kind of contracts that you and I sign up for in our personal. Well, we go to the Apple store and we get a phone and we sign a contract.
I don't know. I think the prosecutor should read everything.
Well, I do. I do, and I'm
It's got more important things to be worried about.
I'm needing a stronger prescription.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the first one, or if it's the first time that we have contracted with someone, that would make sense to have
That's
you
the key.
review it. Yeah.
That's the key.
If
That's
these
why
are
I want
renewals, then,
That's why I want to color
Time.
code these so we can identify what agreements are renewals, what we're looking at for the first time, and always with your input. So you're kind of
works for me.
You've got to manage the budget, so we want to know. We want you to be aware that when these agreements are signed. So anyway,
Thank you. Good.
And it doesn't cost anything, and there's no yearly commitment either. Their terms of service says that you don't want to use it anymore if you don't like it or whatever. Either side can opt out. You just got to send an email and you're done. So,
Jeremy, do we know anything else on the copier contract that you were looking at?
yes. So after did you send the letters out? Yeah, we'll send those out. Yes, so we are going to move away from BOE and go with a NASPO contract. So the company Pacific Automation that I've been working with came up, and we went through all the printers and they got an exact list to get a more accurate quote for what that pricing would be. And it was actually, I think last time I said it was like a $500 difference. Once we got everything all said and done, it's actually significantly more. It's almost
And these are all leases, right?
almost $1,500 difference.
And they're all lease machines, right?
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
So this would make every printer that we use across the entire county brand new and all on a lease, all on the same,
Perfect.
all the same price, all the same everything. So
Annette's gonna be hiring somebody new. What is the process to make sure you're made aware of new actual added bodies so that they get a new PC?
I think, because Pat is pretty good about putting in a ticket saying that somebody's getting hired.
Okay.
And I think as long as it's just denoted that like, hey, just a reminder, this is an additional person in the department as opposed to replacing somebody who may have left, then that'll make sure that it doesn't get
I'll
dropped
make
in.
sure we've got that dialed in for we move forward.
It's part of my checklist.
Okay, anything else? Gotta move on, we're running out of time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Cinda, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll be quick. So April 4th is the all hazard mitigation plan review. They're going to do that via Zoom. April 5th is the Payette River Scenic Byway. I'm actually going to go down and review what we're putting on our National Travel Center and meet with a group of people at Avamore. Valley Soil Water Conservation District meeting is April 6th,
You know what time that is, Cinda?
9 a.m. And you
Thanks.
can go in person or they have a Zoom option also.
I gotta get on their agenda.
Okay.
You're the commissioner on there.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Yes.
So, April 10th and 17th are the impact area discussions with Donnelly and Cascade. And then we went ahead and scheduled 2 additional public hearings for planning and zoning in April. So we don't go so long the first night. It worked out really well in March. I mean, we only had to stay till like 9:30 both nights. And it gives us more time to spend on the items. We're getting a little bit of kickback on that from some of the public. And then we have our April 18th work session. Everything else is very well in planning and zoning.
And did you know, are we gonna meet again with McCall on their impact area? Are we done with that?
Nothing has been scheduled. The last I was aware was we were going to wait and see what happens at the state level
With that legislation?
and then decide,
about that?
what our next.
Unfortunately, at the state level, Senate passed it. It is now in the House Ways and Means.
Oh,
The
it's gone.
chairman is, it's sitting on a table, probably won't go through this year. Chairman,
So we need to maybe sit down and talk about
Yeah,
Plan
we
B there on impact area. McCall.
Right, and we'll work with Oki on that one.
Hey,
So, okay. Anything else for planning and zoning?
Good. Still smiling.
Always.
you're busy.
We are.
good.
Okay, see you later.
Thank you. Larry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
You guys have a good weekend?
Survived it.
No, I got older.
No, you just got wiser.
Mm-mm.
We don't get
Something like
older
that.
anymore.
Nope, got older.
It has to stop.
Both of those are debatable.
Yeah. So grooming, we're still grooming. Really watching the budget extremely closely. We're going to run out of funds in a couple areas. I want to make sure we got enough for spring maintenance left over. And so, I don't know, it looks to me like we can groom into June at this point.
was gonna say.
That's the truth.
A little crazy. We're slowing way down though. We're only grooming a couple days a week out of up north. And IDL leases, United Payette is still with the AGs and ICREMP. They're negotiating some wording on it. But that also includes all of our recreational leases. That is, everything's on hold right now, which is not a good thing, but hopefully they really are talking. Payette Forest Coalition, the final plan is going to come out for Granite or Goose sometime in October. The one that we were hoping would be out in June will be October maybe. They also we had a great talk. We had an entomologist come in and talk to us about bugs. I've got a book down there about all sorts of bugs. If you guys are interested, there's a lot of concern about the damage that has been done and the damage that's going to be done in our forests and how it's going to affect, because we've got the white bark pine has been listed
as an endangered species. So how all of this is going to tie together with this big project of trying to burn things this summer, they got to walk every inch of that land to see if there's a white bark pine sprout. It's going to be difficult.
So Larry,
Yes, sir.
I'm new at this, trying to figure this out, but when they said listing a tree as endangered,
Yes, the tree is an endangered species. It affects a woodpecker, a lot of people would call it a camp robber, but there's another name for it.
right?
And
The
there's a
jay.
nut on there
And the
that those birds, anyway, it's an endangered species. And it's going to affect a lot of things that go on in the forest right now. I think I mentioned to you guys on the Boise, up by Landmark, there was one white bark pine about 20 yards away from our trail, and they made sure that when we groomed, that we pushed snow off the opposite side of the tree, even though we weren't even close to the tree. And one of the big concerns about white bark pine is it's not getting enough water. So anyway, we do what we're told. Grants, really concerned about grants. We're starting to work on putting the list together for next year's grants, but it's kind of difficult to do that until we know what happens with this year's grants. And there seems to be a glitch in the scoring this year. I talked to the grant department IDL because I want our IDPR. I would have had the preliminary scoring by now so we can make some decisions. I cannot get the preliminary scoring out of them yet. I've heard good things and bad things, but we won't go into detail on that yet until we really know for sure. The whole grant procedure seems to have a problem, and I'm going to try to get with IDEA. I've talked to Kathy Muir, and she's going to come and meet with us after this grant season is over and sit with our grant writer, Dave, and myself, and anybody else that wants to be involved in this process and talk to us about what we did right, what we could have done better. So moving forward, we can have keep our scores as high as they can. Anyway, I'm concerned about this year's the way I've heard the scoring has gone. Dave got a scholarship to the Intermountain Trails Symposium in Reno, and it's going to pay for just about the 17th to 20th of April. It's motorized, non-motorized, and planning. It's all sorts of stuff. It's a really good opportunity. They're going to pay his mileage and everything, but I agreed. I'll pay him for the time he's there. Plus, there's $300, I think, more in a room. But we've got that covered in the budget. It's just kind of exciting that he got that scholarship and invited to it. Commissioner Maupin sent me a email from some gal that wants to have a kayak rental out here. I think it might be a fishing deal because I tried the email and it wasn't any good, and I tried calling and nobody answers. But I made the contact, but I think they were fishing. So that's where I am. That's where we are, working hard on the budget. We've got a budget meeting in the department tomorrow. Hopefully get the Parks and Recreation budget into Clerk Miller by the end of this week. And then snowmobile budgets are just what they are. We won't know until we get final numbers from IDPR.
Larry, we paid for a title search today. That was for your department. Was that for Boulder Lake, or where was that?
No, that was the FAA road.
Oh, okay. And where are we on that?
That we'd have to talk to.
It's with the prosecutor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he turned it over to the gentleman out of Boise that they hired.
Good, good.
He put the timelines together and everything, was going to send it into him.
Good.
Be happy to get that one by us.
Yeah. Hey, any more questions for Larry? I see where you filled up fuel. So you must be,
I'm filling up fuel everywhere we can right now.
I think that's a smart decision.
Yeah, I think so too. I watched that real closely, and I talked to a lot of the big distributors, and I'm leaning the direction to keep everything full.
And you use the guy down below, or?
I've been using for farmers. I've been using farmers for everything up north, and I'm using Diamond for everything down south.
Good, good. Cool. Okay, I think that's it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, let's take a break.
Need a break? Take 5 minutes and we'll see you back here in 5, Scott.
We're back on, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, welcome back. Our next agenda item is buildings and grounds. Scott, good morning.
Morning. So, we have an action item, I think, on there to sign the contract for R&M Steel. It's gone through all the process and everything's ready, and I also have a claim for the deposits, so we can get our engineered drawings and stuff, and once we get those, we can drop an FRP and get that out, and get some bids to get it put together.
Perfect.
Josh, Scott, I had a question.
Mhm.
In the cover sheet, you talk about authorized amount of 652,000. Is that a misprint?
No. Mm-mm.
So the building was only 153, correct?
Yeah, but see, we based this on last year's price when we did the CIP and budgeted for it.
But we're only approving for the building, correct, today?
For right now, yes.
And that's
And
100
then,
and-
then we'll have approved, once we get the bids opened up, then we'll have, or, put out a bid, then we'll.
Okay, so
That is what is in the total fund to build this.
right, and then we'll do an RFP to actually construct the
Yeah,
building.
is will be, yes.
So today, all we're approving is the down payment for the building itself.
Yeah, well, yeah, for them to build it, and then I have a claim for the down payment that will get us our engineered drawings and stuff, and then, the gentleman Kirby is who I work with there, he said, submit this for our drawings and stuff, we'll get those. Then we can do the FRP, and then we'll have an additional down payment to
Right.
get started.
So the 652 is just a kind of a budget item that you're
Well, that's
working off?
when we kind of drew it up last year and things, I mean, the original building, I can't remember. Steel prices were really high and concrete and everything. Things have kind of come down since then. So when we did the capital improvement process last year, that's what we kind of figured it may run to at that time. So that's what was approved for it. So that is actually what is is budgeted to construct. We may use half, 3/4 of it.
Right.
Okay. And then the rest of it.
So do you want an up to 652,000 or?
Well, that's what's in the budget line.
No, yeah. The other question I had is it's gonna be a red oxide color?
Mhm.
It's red?
Yeah.
With what trim, white?
Well, it's just a steel structure with a roof on it.
No, I was just looking for colors, because I know your reputation in colors, I think we need to make sure.
I don't know, he's pretty low
How
key.
about going with a pink roof?
He's pretty low key on his colors,
Well, I saw somewhere it was alumina something or other, and I thought, what
Yeah.
color is that?
Yeah.
So was there anything in the CUP approval that talked about building colors? I was a little bit concerned about the red myself, but
Not I'm aware of.
better double check with Cinda.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
the red is really gonna flash.
Well,
If
it's
I-
no
can we get
oxide red is a flat dull. It's
It's
a red primer is basically what it
Yeah.
is.
Like a red, if you see a red steel building going
Yeah,
up, it's
steel
a real
building. It's
dark,
just-
dark
It's
red.
not a gloss. It's a flat red.
I'm just thinking.
Jeff, what color is the shop building in Lake Fork? Like a light green?
It's kind of a tan siding with the green.
So I remember tan, but
Mm-hmm.
we have another choice, or is it?
This,
red?
Light green and dark.
Scott, this isn't gonna have walls on it. This is just
this-
have a
this-
roof.
It's just a supporting red iron. That's what the red iron.
Yeah, it's red
So
iron.
It's nothing that's gonna.
Here it is, Galvalume Plus. Roof panel, Galvalume Plus. I didn't know what that was. Must be galvanized metal for
Yeah,
sure.
roofing. Yeah.
But it would be nice to match kind of what we got there.
Mhm.
But I'll leave that up to you.
Okay. Yeah, because most red iron or most structures are.
I know the beams are red and all
Yeah.
that, but I think the sheeting itself should be
Just the roofing.
something that'll match what we got.
Okay. I can ask them that, see if that changes anything.
So this is an action item, need a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
I make a motion to sign the R&M Steel Company offer.
a second.
Then moving to second, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Come on up, Scott. Today's the 27th. You think that'll work?
Well, actually, I was gone all week. Lunch with
Oh, you did.
You guys gotta sign this too.
I can. He doesn't even know what day of the week.
Excuse me.
Tired people, sheesh.
I mean, is there any electrical code that requires that drinking, the water bottle deals be plugged into GFI?
No, not the plug-in ones.
What?
Not the plug-in ones.
We had an inspection of the ULAP over there, whoever does it for the government, since they have to come, and he says it has to be plugged into GFI, but
I've never seen that in any code. The ones that are fixed to the wall ones, yeah, I have GFI those. But the ones that people just
one you stick the bottle in.
had a ball on top, no, I've never seen any code on that.
So I thought so too, but that's anyway.
Okay, what else you got?
Other than that, just, we got the, controls are all installed up there. Now he's writing the program or the deal that will be on our computer that will, he's putting all that together, so that's done. We're just, kind of the spring, things melt back here, we'll start working on flower beds and cleaning up around here. We'll probably start on our filter changes here now that spring's here, throughout all the buildings. Other than that, we're just taking care of things.
Scott, did you ever let the city know about this water that's coming up out here on the?
They dug around in there about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, that's all the cones there. They must have dug and piled dirt up because you can see where they scraped it back and left some, and then they put those cones around it. So they were fishing around in there about 2 weeks ago. It must have been done on a Friday when I wasn't here. Then Mitch didn't see anything either, but we came in Monday and they had that ring of cones around it, and you could see where they had drug dirt back, with a bucket on a backhoe or something. So,
Well, it might pay you to call Steve Yamamoto at the city and see just what their plan is.
yeah,
And if you want help, I can help with that too.
okay,
See if we can't get this done this year,
yeah.
because we're really tired of living with it.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's come across the road, I mean, how sound is that road out there anymore?
Boy, it was bubbling the day I saw it.
Oh, it was, yeah, it was, and it was steaming and everything else. There's no
Yeah.
doubt where it's coming from, so.
That's what I'm wondering, if that's not creating more issues in the north side of the courthouse, if all of a sudden things are starting to sink again.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, because we need to look, if you were talking, I talked with Annette in there, and where Tony's desk is, that one corner back there. But if you go downstairs in the room below it, there's nothing in the flooring there. It's almost like there's something going on with the floor joists up above, so.
Can you get through that ceiling downstairs to get to
We're
it?
going to have to look at that. We need to have someone come take a look at that and see what we got to do. And even the whole floor, as you walk away from Tony's desk towards the front of the building, the floor has got ups and downs.
We saw that.
So something's going on over there in that part of the building. And we think we got the ants under control for right now too. If we see any further, we may have to bring in a professional and see. But we think we found the nest. It was back in the old boiler room and stuff. And
Have you heard any more as far as our new baler?
we may have it in June.
Good.
Or something's what I got an email that it looks like that we may get it in June and stuff. So.
We'd be able to unbolt the old one and bolt this one right to it.
It should be. I mean, they are, as far as I can tell by looking at it, it's identical. It's just,
They bought out International Baler, and it should be just, take it out, put it back in place. Electrical's the same. And we should be able to be good to go. Plug and play, that'd be
nice.
Yeah. I say it is identical to it.
And then what's your plans for the old baler?
I scrap it.
You don't want to pull any of the motors or anything like that for parts?
We might be able to. I'll have to see if they're still using the same components. I don't know, because we did put a new hydraulic pump.
Yeah, we did.
And stuff and everything on it a year ago.
And I think
And
that
actually, we
Ram-
had the other one rebuilt, so we actually have a backup for that.
And I think we replaced a Ram about 6 or 8 years ago.
That's
when
not, that was before I understand that they were overriding it, and they blew the whole back end out of it and had to have it rebuilt and stuff. So, but I think that happened 2 or 3 years prior to me coming here.
Right. I remember getting in on fixing that.
So we have to see if they're still using the same components to build it with, if they're compatible. With the condition of the chamber and stuff, it is so wore out inside.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think it's worth trying to install somewhere as a backup or anything.
No, that's what happened with balers. They get really thin.
Yep. Then we got I did get a new pump assembly in for up in the mechanical room. It's on our makeup air unit. It has a heating coil. It actually the heat comes off the boiler, goes through an exchanger, and then this pumps it through there. Because in the winter we can't be bringing in below zero air, and so that pump is starting to go and rattle in there. So I've got a whole pump motor end unit direct replacement here in the spring when we don't need it anymore. We'll probably change it out, and then we'll have the other one go to Boise Electric Motor and rebuilt, and we'll have a backup for that. And I want to look at buying additional backup pumps for some of them up there, so if they do go down, we can replace them.
Good idea.
Stuff. Other than that, I can't really think of anything else right now. I am scheduled to meet with Doug and Gabby next Thursday, a week from this Thursday, on the budget for facilities and solid waste.
Good.
So, have a few others coming through. We have a contract for our generator maintenance with Western States coming here as soon as it gets in the queue and gets looked at. And one other I'm trying to think of. I can't think of it right off the bat.
Oh, you were saying, or Scott, it was steaming out there. Is there an underground hot water source coming from somewhere up the hill?
We know the source of the leak. It's the school's geothermal system, and it's their wastewater line that runs down and actually dumps in the old mill pond is where it goes. And it predates me from the history that Scott gave me. As it first started boiling up in the manhole right in front of the EOC every fall when they turned it on. And since I've come here, it has migrated down to another valve body in the alley where you turn to go across the alley there. And then now it's showing up over here is what it's doing.
We're all gonna sink one of these days.
Yeah,
We're
a year
gonna
ago
have a
we
huge sinkhole.
did some potholing out there looking for it, and then one of the patches that started coming up last winter in a corner of one of the patches, you could see in the winter when it snows, that whole area in front of the EOC down here stays snow free because the leaking water
leaks coming through.
And when spring comes and they shut it off up there, it'll go away.
And last year, I mean, literally, it ran on top of the road, so it creates these ice dams. They're this deep, and so you're
Yeah.
walking across the ice.
We had
Mess.
the ice got really bad 2 years ago. It was really bad out there, enough that people were cutting across the parking lot to keep from having to come around the corner because it's so big of holes. It caused a big heave in our parking lot from where the road transitions to our parking lot. And you can see if you go out there in front of the EOC, the road is caved, sunk.
yeah,
And then
I've seen that.
where we have the cones over there, there's actually a hole it has created. I can't park there, and you can see the water bubbling up down there.
So is this a Cascade City issue? That's what this
School.
is?
Well, it's the school. It's the school's water and it's the city street. So I say it's both their problems.
Oh my goodness.
But I think what I'll do,
And-
Scott, is I'll go see the superintendent up here this week and see if she can't push the city to get that fixed. Yeah. We gotta do something this year. This is getting out of hand.
Let's
It is, I mean, it's, you go take a look at that hole in front of the EOC where you walk in the door where we got the cones. It's not safe to really park by it.
Yeah, we could have a sinkhole real easily.
We're gonna have a big one up there one of these days, so.
Yeah, we've got on the agenda this afternoon, I've just been looking into some of the EV charging station grants that are out there.
Mhm.
So you and Jeff both, we should have a conversation. I don't know if you're around this afternoon for that, but I'd like to.
What time?
I want to, at 3:15.
Yeah.
I want to talk to these guys about whether we should, even try and do something as a community, but I just.
Well, I tell you what, they're all over in Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
Hotels had 6 or 8 of them, each hotel.
Yeah.
Well, and so we do need to talk about it, but I want to talk about locations on county properties. So
Okay.
if you're around,
Want
that'd
to
be great.
wait till after the big plan comes out for this and put it in then?
The grants are available right now. I mean, that's the only thing. So, I mean,
But
they're
we're gonna have
due
to
by
run
the end of
wiring and all
May.
that stuff.
And
I don't know.
I got the, or McKinsey got the grant, sent in last week for the stuff,
Woody
so.
biomass, awesome.
Maybe we ought to get Jeff a Tesla to drive around in.
In one of those Tesla pickups.
Tesla pickup. This,
There may be some electronic things we need to look at, but
all right, thanks, Scott.
Okay.
Next one is Road and Bridge. Come on up, Jeff.
you look rested. We don't know if we want to talk to you when you're rested.
I'll talk to you now.
You get feisty when you're rested.
I've been approached by Ford. They've got pretty big incentives out right now for electric vehicles, but as soon as you go over the top of that mountain, I don't even think we have current bushes in Valley County, so
Not that high.
there's nothing to plug into. Want to do the bid first?
Sure. This is an action item for Profile Creek Bridge bid opening. Bring them on up.
This is for the bridge only. The bridge and the concrete. This has nothing to do with the construction side of it. That's another RFP that's out there right now.
Where's Profile Creek, Jeff?
Find Big Creek.
Okay.
It's the one closer. Basically given me $800,000 to contract it out. So the contracting has to come through us since it's on one of our roads. But we're not having to pay any of it.
Okay, perfect.
The money exchanges hands through us, but everything, think we put $800,000 in that budget, and it's gonna be really close to that, so we'll pull out of that, and then when it's all done, then I'll get reimbursement from the Forest Service.
Will it be faster than FEMA? Sorry.
All right.
I hope so.
Okay, this is from INW Precast, Inland Northwest Precast, out of Newman Lake, Washington. This is for a precast, grade beams, manufacture and deliver prefabricated modular steel bridge. So the bid for the steel part is $421,340, 421340. The bid for the concrete grade beams is $17,948. Now, is this a separate bid?
It's all kind of added together, because contact, if I get the grade beams through them, they hire this Northwest Precast.
So the total bid then is gonna be $421,340, is that right? Yep. Nope,
So you
nope,
gotta
nope,
add
nope,
the-
nope, that's not right. The total bid is $439,288.
That's not installed. That's just.
That's
just the
delivered,
bridge.
Huh?
That's just the bridge.
That's just the
delivered
product.
here. And delivered out there is gonna be a challenge.
Well, it's delivered to here, and then it's up to the contractor to get it from Gold Dust back there.
Is this on this side of Profile or on the other
On
side?
this side,
It's on this side.
yeah, there's a culvert. It's 40, 50, 60 feet deep right there. And if it ever plugs up, it's gonna
That'd be a huge mess.
The fisheries and the Forest Service are wanting to open that channel back up.
Huh. Goodness.
So do we only get one bidder?
And that's all we got. And I did personally reach out to a couple different companies, just let them know it was out there.
Take some pretty good equipment.
I just want to make sure.
Set that and put it in
delivers.
place.
Yeah.
Even Christmas.
They're gonna have to pour all the abutments in place, is that correct?
No, that's what those grade beams are. They'll be precast.
But I mean, on each end,
No, it's just gonna be sitting on a constructed bridge. Basically, you're gonna be sitting on rock.
all right.
Yeah, all of our big R bridges in back there. This will actually be the last bridge on the Payette National Forest on our roads that we maintain that will be a replacement. We pulled all their old original wooden ones, we put these new steel structures in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just sitting on the rock.
Yeah, there's no wing walls or nothing, that's what you're thinking of. We're sitting high enough above the stream to where water won't even get anywhere near it.
Yep.
And this is delivered out to Gold Dust.
Yes.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve this bid if you want to move forward with it.
I make a motion that we approve the bid for the Profile Creek Bridge.
I'll second.
Moved in second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Doug, do you need the amount and who that was with?
I think I captured it was 421,340.
Actually, it's 439,288.
Because of the concrete beams were separate.
Yep.
Thank you.
So then you'll still have to put out for bid for
For the construction.
construction
And
of it.
I think it hit the paper last week.
Does all these companies have to be public works licensed
Yes.
people? Okay,
Yep, insured, yeah, all that stuff.
all that.
Hopefully getting that out. Right now, hopefully we'd get enough interest, we'd get 3 or 4 bids on it, on the construction side.
Where are we at on putting a building? Is there a committee still talking about where to put this big building that we're looking at, or is it set for Gold Dust, or
It's still being talked about,
still being talked about?
yeah. I know that last time I talked to Doug, it was, we were gonna talk to Clearwater.
Clearwater's doing the Russell, the architect, is designing an RFP to draw it all up.
Oh, they are?
They're supposed to be getting back to me here this week.
Okay.
Doug, would you check, make sure I signed this right?
I mean, does it work to have, I mean, are you looking like 2 different hubs? I know you're gonna be vacating the rodeo grounds
It'll
eventually.
still be the main hub down here, but I think we built the shop in Lakeport in 04, 05, and I think we were kind of looking at road districts.
Mhm.
So we'd have 2 office managers, 2 superintendents, 2 kind of everything.
Right,
And it never went that way. And that shop is 75 by 115, but a third of that is office space.
heard of its office.
I just
Oh,
put-
yeah.
Look
I've been in
for
one.
a title,
Yeah.
your chairman,
I mean, does that
and that looks good.
shop need to be added on to put another bay or 2 in there? I mean,
If it could, it's gonna be hard to add on to the roof without changing the pitch level of the roof to keep the height.
right,
Almost gonna have to be a flat roof if we add to the sides.
I think it's gonna be a whole conversation around,
Yeah.
you know, what Jeff's plan is for both locations and why.
well, it's almost like needing 2 hubs. I mean, one on the south end of the county, one on the north end of the county. 2 hubs where people can work out of, service this county.
So it's kind of what we have now, the unfortunately, the one here in Cascade has gone beyond. It's one thing that's way too small to do any mechanical work in. And kind of rough shape.
One of the big problems, I'm not fighting it, but I've got over half of my crew driving to Lake Fork every day.
Right.
Because after Max retires in June, I got 3 employees up there.
Up in the,
Yep, nobody can afford to live up there. So
Well-
they're all my new employees, they're
down here.
living, I don't even have any live in Donley.
All my employees live out at the pumpkin patch. They do.
And those houses tripled in price in the last few years.
Oh, they got ridiculous, yeah.
We may have to think about moving these older homes up to the Lake Fork site. Giving you some housing up there might be a plan.
Gotta do something up there. Because everybody I interview, I mean, I tell them, and, you know, Pat could vouch for this, before you accept an offer, I want you to look at the housing market. And right now, I've got 2 employees down here living in campers. And their water was froze up most of the winter.
And that's so hard.
You can't continue to do this.
You guys see it all the time, the rental prices for 2-bedroom, 1-bath condominiums or townhomes or studios, whatever, in that McCall area, they're $2,500 a month.
Nobody can afford it.
There is some rental assistance. You and I need to talk offline.
Yeah, we probably
HFA has some rental assistance grants that are
That
sitting
need-
there at the state.
That needs to be in this conversation too.
Yeah. So we need to talk about that.
Hey, what else you got?
I've already brought up the RFP deal for the construction of that bridge. We have the bids out for the paving right now on the 5 roads, plus East Roseberry, that was an LTAC grant for $100,000, so that one's be kind of paid for.
Jeff, you had some people asking, you were on vacation, I sent you an email, and I'm sure you haven't seen it yet, but, so you're doing West 4.
I seen it.
Why not do East 4 at the same
There's
time?
only 2 people that drive East 4 lane every day, and there's 100 plus people that drive West 4.
I get that. I mean, I may not do West 4.
Yeah, I'm not even quite sure why we even ever paved that road, except for when you remember what the name of that family is that owned that ridge out there?
Cosquillas.
Cosquillas. They mined that whole ridge out for rock. That's the only reason I can think of it ever got paved was to keep the dust down.
One
It
is
was
there,
all for dust.
Yeah.
so there is no commercial traffic on it from any of the. is
There's
there
a
anything up
few
there?
here and there, but it's not a main road. They use Good Lane, and you can talk to Okie. They go down Cosquilla more than they go down East 4.
Yeah.
Is East 4 beyond patching?
No, we did a greater patch on it, or a paver patch last
I
year.
should
on
say West
a bad
4.
spot on that east side. But yeah, I've told everybody I'm just gonna take a grinder in there, and I might even do it after I talk to this gentleman that emailed you. I'm gonna have a pulverizer on West 4, so I might just have them bump across the highway and just grind that up, so at least we can maintain it.
Grade it and put her back.
If there's not enough, yeah.
Yeah, there's only 2 or 3. I mean, once in a while, a couple trucks might go down it, but without throwing traffic counters out there, I bet our daily traffic count's probably gonna be 5 a day.
But I think we still, depending on how much it costs to grind it, I think we should do something for it. If we can't grader patch it anymore, we better grind it. And
Yeah,
put her back to
grinding
gravel.
it wouldn't, I think it's $2 a square yard or something like that, so.
Wouldn't be too
We're already
much.
gonna have them there, so I wouldn't have to pay for molding or anything. I just pay for
That's
that
a
out of
great
my
idea.
budget.
So you just grind it and leave the material on there and grade it?
Yep. There wouldn't be hardly any dust off of it, cause it's gonna be milled asphalt, so.
Mhm. Makes sense.
If there's enough oil left in it, we add enough water to it and the right consistency and stuff, we just about blade it right back into asphalt again.
Perfect.
Can that type of product, once you get it like that, can you put chip seal on top of that to seal it or anything?
Yeah, that helps. I mean, true to the fact chip seal, that's why I gotta get back into it, is Lakeshore out here. We had extra oil. I think Curtis was here, so
Wow, that's,
8 years ago.
yeah.
We chip sealed from West Mountain Road to about Blue Heron boat launch right there.
There was a cattle guard there.
And then we ran out of our leftover oil right there. So that section from there to the city limits just went 4 years later. The other part's just now starting to fall apart. So chip seal it's not cheap, but it's not as much as pavement.
Right. That holds up.
Once a road gets to a certain point, like East 4 and West 4, it's going to seal it up to the elements, but it's still going to be rough.
Right. Hey, what else you got?
I got one new employee. He's going to interview tomorrow, and he's been in most of the winter. He's the one that I put in contact with Idaho Department of Labor, and they paid $5,400 of the $6,000 it took to get the CDL.
Good.
And he only had to spend 3 days in the valley, I think, taking a skills test. The rest of it was all online.
That's awesome. Somebody got to use that.
I've got another employee that's, or probable employee. Right now, I think we're gonna hire him at the weed department and see how things work. And then in the wintertime, if we have to, we'll roll him into a full-time employee, that's what's gonna keep employees here unless you're retired and just wanna work in the summertime. But we gotta figure out a way to get their benefits to them. And
We need to get you out of your vehicle. So the governor should be signing that $8,000 grant. So every high school student has the opportunity to get $8,000 to go to either a community college or CTE training, but it will pay for all the CDLs.
oh,
So
that's the trade.
it's launch, yeah.
It's a launch thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's July 1st, we'll
Oh.
start all of that.
okay.
So we need to really have a vibrant program. Pat and I were talking about this. How do we reach out to some people? And if they want to get a CDL, fine, hire them first. Let's get them to the,
I
to the
can't,
correct place to go do it, but
can't hire them without a CDL
That's true.
in my policy.
you can't.
Nope, I won't.
That's a good
Because if
policy.
I hire them and have them 3 months and then they go, oh, I don't want my CDL, and out they go.
I'm more concerned about getting their CDL and then they go. That happens all the time.
Happens with the sheriff's office, everything else, unless we make them sign a 1-year contract with us or whatever the sheriff's office is doing.
Well, if we're paying for it, this is the state.
Well,
so
we're not
we're
paying for
hoping-
it, yes, so we're not gonna be out anything except for an employee that we trained for 3 months or.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
It's a
That
chance you
is
take.
just-
Is what it is.
We have to create the right environment.
But the person I hire, they need to drive a truck from day one, because that's usually one of the first things I put them in is a truck.
Mhm.
So, not that I can or won't, but I'd rather not, let's put it that way.
There's funding out there. There will be funding out there.
Okay.
This new program to
Okay,
What do
get guys.
new hires get for a pay?
a little less than 21, I think, 2080 or 2084 or something like that.
Okay.
And depending on experience, we can bump them a little bit, but that's our beginning.
I'm
Okay.
getting structure.
That's no experience, yeah.
Yeah, that's coming in with the CDL and know how to run a shovel. Or come in with the CDL, preferably I like a little bit of equipment experience, but
Yeah.
kind of like an electrician.
I always get in trouble.
It's kind of like training an apprentice electrician. They shock themselves once and they learn pretty quick.
Great.
Yeah, I know this one.
I won't do that again.
I just had one quit me and going to do construction work, heavy equipment. And it's like, really? You're gonna quit electrical and go do?
Wow.
He likes to play in Tonka toys.
He's a great guy though.
How are the
He'll be
roads?
back.
How are the roads? What condition are our roads in?
That's what I was going to bring up. The frost did a lot of damage this year. I don't even know what our gravel roads are going to look like, but gold dust 2 weeks ago, right before I left, the good part of Gold Dust Road. Well, it's gonna look like Lake Shore here in a couple weeks.
Jeff, got a question for you. If you're, I mean, and I'm talking employees, time, are there times in your working that you have to reach out to other contractors to help blade roads? I mean, subcontract out?
I've never done that with blading roads, but that's kind of why I'm hiring contractors for paving some of these.
Right.
So we can continue doing the maintenance on other stuff that we need to be concentrating on.
I'm
There's
just
a
throwing
trick-
that out as a thought, you know?
Yeah, there's a trick to blading our roads because this section of road might have nice gravel on it, blades real good. All of a sudden, boom, we ran out of gravel right there, and then it turns into it's kind of like contracting the backcountry workout.
Sure.
You really got to be on them to make sure they get bladed to our standards.
Mhm.
If there's no crown in the road, you're not going to get a crown in the road unless you add material, which hopefully with our big pile of gravel up there, we can start spotting it around and try to get these crowns back. But right now you start pulling in the edges and all you're doing is pulling up 4-inch
Oh, real
rocks.
rocks.
Yeah.
So when you start to list the roads you're gonna be working on, I mean, do we have a list of the things that we should be rebuilding? And the reason I'm asking that is after some conversations with a couple of guys that were in the office, they were just saying, you know, they're really struggling right now with snow plowing because the roads are there's no borrow ditch left. I guess that's what I'm saying. We'll have to have that chat this afternoon. We can chat about that offline.
I haven't heard that one, but I know some of our roads don't have ditches because the material's gone.
If we have people call us, which they do, and say, hey, what about this road?
Let me know about it.
Don't we just give them your name to call?
Give them my name and email and have them talk to me.
Okay.
Because I don't see all these roads and, maybe a contractor went down Hasbrook Lane this summer with the road grader loader and tore a big hole in it past where Elk drives. I don't know about it until somebody calls me or I actually go look at it.
Sure.
My road is about like the highway going to McCall. You got a load of hay on, you better go really slow or you're gonna leave hay all over the
All
road.
over the place.
Breakup limits are getting ready to go out. You better not be hauling hay on it.
Oh, I do light loads, but I'll tell you what, going down the canyon, when you hit the head of the canyon, you better be going
Those
slow.
two, that's where somebody lost a box of roofing staples is
Yeah.
what it looked like. I'm pretty sure they hit that bump on that first corner and the box went flying out of the back of their pickup.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there was a few flat tires and these were the big inch wide by
Nice.
3/4 of an inch long. They probably laid perfectly in the road with the points out.
Oh, yeah. Oops.
I drug the camper up to Spokane last week and man, those from Donley to McCall, it's like, okay, hang on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all road base.
Well, I just drove to Oregon and the roads are just as bad over there as they are here.
It's like I said, this frost did some weird stuff this
Yep.
winter in these roads.
I think we've got some one-lane roads out there, so I'm curious as to how the guys are pulling some of that stuff back.
Yeah, we won't know until this frost is out and the snow's gone and
Yeah.
we'll start working on them. When Mary Rosen was here, we applied for a LLIB grant, which is a local something bridge. I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but I got approved for 3 of them. The Willow Creek culverts down by Roseberry. There's 4 culverts that go underneath the road and they're in pretty bad shape and they consider that a bridge because it's over 20 feet wide. Mud Creek culverts out on Nisula. 4 5-foot culverts out there, I think. That got approved, and then the Kenley Creek Bridge out by Gold Fork Hot Springs got approved. So here in the next couple of months when the snow starts to start working, Keller and Associates got that deal from LTAC to take these on. So it's either rehab or replace.
So have you already bought your culverts?
No, we haven't done nothing.
Cause I heard those are getting kind of hard to find.
Just my culverts, I'm doing good right now.
Okay, good.
These ones here, until the engineers get up here and actually look at them, they've all rated poor on the bridge assessments last year.
Are these like the oval multi-plates or are these?
No, these are actual just
round oak culverts.
Yep, round rolled culvert. And the ones around Donley, there's a lot of iron in the groundwater up there and
Eats them right up.
cow urine.
Yep.
We replaced a couple culverts when we did all of them on Patty Flat last year. We did those 12 culverts. 2 of those culverts I replaced about 15 years ago and they were gone.
Oh my God.
I mean, gone.
Did you see the grant request that I had sent to Mackenzie yet?
I haven't read that yet, no.
Okay.
I'm
I
still-
think I found a grant actually to build the road department buildings through the EDA.
Oh, that'd be good.
Wow.
Mackenzie looked at it and said that she thinks that this would work for constructing that.
Through the EDA,
Yeah.
that's who we're dealing with on the Epstein Bridge, just give you an idea.
Take it anywhere we can find it.
Anything that works.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's like paying taxes. I'd rather get $5 back than pay $5, so.
Exactly.
Other than that, we're, 2 of my new pickups are in down at Mountain Home, so we'll go down and pick those up sometime this week. Don't know which ones they are. Like I said, I had four of my 1-tons canceled here about a month ago, so I'm just gonna roll that right back into next year's until I get them.
Yep.
We're gonna start that tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Right?
Sir.
You remember?
Yep.
You sure? Mickey said you forgot.
Oh, I was gonna go help her with laserfish and unfortunately
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was still gonna be focused on the road department tomorrow morning,
Hope
but
so.
it's not gonna be laserfish. I'll have another discussion with Mickey regarding helping her get laserfish set up so you guys can utilize that for record retention of contracts and other things.
Awesome.
But Commissioners, if I have an opportunity just to mention something that's taking place, I had a meeting last week with Mountain Water Works, Idaho Department of Commerce, DEQ, Granite Excavation regarding the Yellow Pine Water Treatment Facility replacement and repairs. That is scheduled to begin in April or May. And the question that came up was regarding the Epstein Bridge replacement. Will that be done before? No. Can you reach out to Granite Excavation and maybe make some coordination with them of how to get their supplies back there before the bridge replacement's
That's
done?
in April, next week.
As in very soon, I think they want to begin some sort of construction and potentially bringing equipment down there. But if you wouldn't mind reaching out to Granite. Steve is the person in charge right now.
Who?
Is it Steve with Granite?
I don't know, new one to me. Not Brad, is it?
Might be Brad.
Brad's the guy in charge here in Cascade.
Did you answer that?
I'll find out.
You can find out.
Because the South Fork went back to Forest Service maintenance for the summer last week.
You want to answer him? You want me
And
to?
I'm pretty sure they're gonna put their weight limits up on that road here.
You can reach out to Granite and just make sure that they're aware of what the
I'll
restrictions
double
are.
check. But yeah, that Epstein Bridge is. Who knows when that's gonna happen?
Okay.
Granite, okay.
I think that's it.
Yep, other than that, I'm done.
Good.
Okay,
Thanks, Jeff.
thank
Good
you
to
all.
see ya.
You'll be here this afternoon, is that right?
So what?
That your coaching session today? You'll be back here for this
Yeah,
afternoon?
I canceled it twice, so I guess I better do it today.
See you at 3:30. 3:30.
3:30. Yep, okay, I'll be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, we got meeting minutes. Oh, we got something before that, don't we?
You know what? Can we go ahead and do the meeting minutes though? And then it's gonna take a minute to get over to U of I and everything else.
Sure. Yeah, while we're waiting, we'll move on down. The next agenda item is an action item. This is the meeting minutes of March 20th. And I was not here, I don't think, so.
I did send Doug a couple corrections that I found, so that was all I had. So I would move that we approve the meeting minutes of March 20th.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried and you signed those. And I guess my only question on that is you guys, the discussion with Kinsey on the grants, do you feel like she's got enough time? Does she need help with her job?
I think so.
Think we're still okay? Because we gotta watch that.
Keep asking her that. She said, no, I'm doing great.
Okay,
Okay, girl. Seemed like a lot on her plate.
so
And I
that's
think-
done.
You know, she'll reach out to Doug, I think, if she needs help, so. Yeah.
Is that launch piece, I mean, because I'm talking to my apprentices about doing it. Is this something that it's tied to, they have to do it in Boise? Or is this stuff they can do online up here? Because most all my guys do online training up here.
I'm not certain. It depends on which program they end up hooking up with. If they can
Looks
get
like
on
we'll
to,
The magistrate
I
here.
think it's Idaho Launch.
Defender.
It's like,
What is
It's gonna
it?
be-
Idaho
it's gonna be
Launch.
interesting, it will be.
More administrative
And then
experience than actual
there are
court
some-
experience.
Correct.
Training courses on there.
I'm curious how it all is going to be created. And
So it's
Yeah,
idaholaunch.com.
who runs
And they
state
can actually
checks?
go in
in
and
the
look at
States,
all
right?
of
I
it.
mean, because
Have you
we,
talked to Scott? Has he
But it's
looked
gonna
into all
change
this?
substantially.
you know, I think I don't know.
Right now,
I know the
most of
Public
it's
Defense
apprenticeship
Commission
based.
is going to provide you guys with an update in a couple weeks. Maybe we could
on
ask
there,
him at
and the
that point in
program's gonna
time.
change because of the education.
Well, I'm assuming
Provide
then
his
that
opinion.
This
then
has to
we
be
wouldn't have to
for
budget for that.
We're not
School
budgeting,
students.
well, we're not levying for public defense any longer.
Any longer.
Currently,
All of
the
it
state
figured
is
out yet.
providing us
Well,
with
they might
that
not,
funding
But
at
I was hoping that they
a specific rate, right?
They were
Or
on
a
track
specific
with it, 'cause
amount.
that's
So
what
we
I
are
was
no
talking
longer
about at our
levying for public
economics
defense.
you know,
This
it
was the
gonna
first
be-
year that we did not levy for
Reading it
public
in the
And then
defense.
the
material,
thing he would have to watch
construction
is if they
people
honor
is
our contract.
healthcare is.
Correct, and
There's
then
tons
like,
of stuff.
you know,
Yeah,
potential
guys are
increases, it'll be
concerned
curious
that
how
What
they're
that.
about
Because they can't
conflicts of the state and do all the conflict attorney? too?
I
Yeah,
don't think
they're
so.
gonna handle all of,
So Mike and all those guys will have to get.
have to
signed
contract
up, right?
And
potentially
I
with
think
the state, yeah.
specifically out of like,
Well, this thing off our plate.
Yep.
Twin Falls, and this island, or just southern Idaho.
Mhm.
They can look.
Okay, we're gonna move on down to our next agenda item. Casey, good to see you. This is an action item. This is a Rise Up to Thrive update and a discussion on opioid settlement funds. So I will turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, hello again. Casey Brocht, victim advocate and executive director with Rise Up to Thrive. I have to disclose that this is the first time that I've ever been so nervous in my life to present in front of you all because we're asking for monies. And it's more personal to me because it's my agency that we're asking money for. So
But don't be nervous. We're not
okay,
mean.
I
up
appreciate that. I appreciate that, but I just wanted to let it out there at first. But as I stand up here, I'm very humbled and very proud of the team, my team, and what we have accomplished in the last 5 months since October 1st. And some of these ladies and others that were not allowed or not available to come today have been working behind the scenes to make Rise Up to Thrive really, really, really thrive. So I appreciate each and every one of you and many others that have made it happen as much as we have in the last 5 months. Because of them, we've had 5 very successful fundraisers, raising over $50,000. And they've been able to spread the awareness throughout our communities and hand out flyers, put up brochures, the busy work that I'm unable to do because I'm out working directly with client services. That's where my passion is. That's what I want to be doing. So they're allowing for that for me. So I appreciate that so much. I hope you guys were able to receive my email that I had sent with some kind of attachments talking about our income statement, our budget, and then also the V Corp support letter as well. So I will be referring to those as well throughout the presentation. But if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Along with the 5 amazing fundraisers that we've been able to do, we've also worked with 82 individuals and provided $10,000 worth of direct client services, including lodging, food, counseling, medical services, court advocacy, relocation, phones, clothing, etc. And this does not even include the case management or the advocacy portion of the expense. So my personal salary is not a part of these expenses. These are 100% direct client services, how they are benefiting from. So 5 months, $10,000. Quickly gone. Out of the 82 clients, all but 3 were from Valley County. We had 1 client come from Adams County, 1 client from Treasure Valley, and then 1 client from Washington. So most of all of those clients of 82 belong here within Valley County. 85% of those individuals have disclosed some sort of substance abuse during the altercation or violence. And so when we're doing our risk assessments, I stated in our proposal that substance abuse is part of a factor in the risk assessment lethality for domestic violence. Sadly, we have, in our community, have been affected by a domestic violence homicide recently, and we want it to be the last. We don't want it to happen over and over again or become a norm. And so that's what we're here to do, is to provide these services to try to prevent. And so the more that they know that they're available, the more that they can come and seek those services. So that kind of brings us to why we're here today. We have 2 separate requests to present to you guys. First off, we are asking for the commissioners or you to consider approving the $10,000 funding from the opioid settlement funds that we had requested. And then an additional $10,000 to $20,000 funds for non-restricted funds to be used for more general and admin costs. And I kind of break it down for you both, or for you all, on both of the proposals as to where the monies will go and how they will be spent. And I hope you can see that it's a need, it's necessary for these services to be able to be provided in our community alone. So the first, I would refer to the letter of support from V Corp, which that was a very interesting conversation when I got to sit down, and Teresa joined me. We got to sit down in front of V Corp, and it was a very they were very cautious about how they wanted to spend these money. So we had come in with a specific proposal, and by the time we left, they came up with a different way that we were going to propose this to you guys. So originally, we had talked about requesting the funds under abatement 6, I believe it was, which was treatment of trauma for individuals with opiate, e.g. violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and so forth. They were concerned that that was very specific, that it would be opiate use only. When we intake our clients, we don't break it down. We ask them, are drugs and alcohol involved? Majority of the time they are. Like I said, 85% are involved. 85 to 90% are involved.
And that's self-reported. I just want to, self-reported, so it's not necessarily accurate.
And sometimes they don't believe that an opiate is a drug. So they're taking it for self-medication for anxiety or whatnot. It might not be considered a drug to them. And so when we are talking about that, most of our clients could be, or their perpetrators have been under the influence at some point or will coerce them to be under the influence. And so what we did, or what the V Corp board decided to do, is change the abatement or the strategy of how we were going to apply for these funds. As you can see, that they do support the funds, do support providing the funds, but they had suggested that we address the needs of pregnant and parenting women and their children, including babies with neonatal abstinence syndrome. So obviously the part there that I want to really take your attention to is the parenting women and their children. And then the strategies that we can use the funds for. And the strategies would be housing, transportation, and childcare. And we had talked about it very extensively about how we would not be duplicating those services, because that was their primary goal, is not to duplicate any of those services. And so with that letter, it is in their support to provide Rise Up to Thrive the $10,000 for the opioid settlement funds, using $6,000 in housing, which would also be considered shelter or lodging, $3,500 in transportation, which also could include relocation, and then $500 in childcare. The childcare amount really normally comes from if an individual has to come to court, we're able to have a safe place for that child to go while the client is in court. So that number could be a lot bigger, but we're just using it for that specific reason. Any questions regarding that?
So this is the 10,000 for the opioid settlement. How much we have left in those funds?
I'm
How
sorry.
much we have left in the opioid?
$24,022.21.
So Casey, when V Corp is wanting you to separate domestic abuse from opioid use, they're wanting to split that apart? Is that what they're asking you guys to do?
Not necessarily, because what we can see and what we know is most oftentimes there is some kind of substance involved when there's domestic violence. And so it's not the reason, but there's a substance involved. And so more than likely, one of our, if somebody comes to me, my client might be using or the perpetrator might be using. So we are benefiting the family by removing them from the household, providing them housing, transportation, or childcare in some way or form. So if we know that there's a client that has not disclosed anything, then maybe we would not be putting those funds towards that specific client. But more than likely, our clients have disclosed at some point that there has been some sort of substance.
Okay. So Casey, let me get this kind of straight in my own little brain here, but you're asking for 10,000 now, and then the 20,000 is for FY24 budget, is that correct?
Yeah, we're given, yes. And so I'll kind of break that down a little bit further too. That would be more of a general fund, so more non-restrictive funds. We have, obviously reached out to several funding sources and waiting back, but most of those funding sources are for victim services. So that direct client victim service. And so what we're looking for, the county can help us with, is the general services, the operating expenses that we have. The lease of the space that we have, the utilities, marketing, supplies, that kind of stuff that we want to take. We don't want those. That donation would take away from, or pardon me, I'm saying this wrong. If we don't receive those funds, then obviously it's going to affect what we have in the pot for the victim services. And so whatever we can do to, increase that pot for victim services is what our intent is.
What have we given you so far this year?
We have not made a request.
Since you guys moved out, there hasn't been any.
No,
Okay.
no, we have not made a request. In fact,
And
when we came back, you guys had requested that we come in front of
Right.
you again. And so that's why we're here. If you look at the budget, we want to be 100% transparent with you guys about how our monies are being spent. And I do want to just make a note that this is from month ending February 28th, so it does not have the March
numbers in it. And you can see, like I said, we've already spent $10,000 in client services. That does not include, my time with the clients. That does not include the advocacy or case management or anything like that. At this point, I have agreed to take a very minimal salary until we are able to get sustainable funding for other services, client services, and all services before I take the actual suggested salary of $60,000. So I am below half of that at this moment until we could actually bump up those numbers. And in the budget also is including a part-time employee as well.
Gosh darn it. You guys have grant ability to pool too?
Yes, and so that's the beautiful thing of it is right now, in the 5 short months, we've established everything that we need to be able to start applying for those larger grants that is going to be able to provide us the sustainable funding. So April alone, we're applying for the Sparklight grant. We're applying for the Idaho Council on Domestic Violence grant, which is a huge opportunity for us for multiple years of funding. We have I have a list here. We've already applied for a Rotary grant. And so the Laura Moore Foundation grant is being applied for. So we're always looking for external funding opportunities because the bigger we can grow, the more services we could provide. And like we said, when we originally came, we wanted to, in 2 to 5 years, have our own safe place shelter option for our clients. And that's the biggest need. Most of our direct client service funding is going towards lodging. It is going towards, safe housing and things like that. And so if we could just pull that money into a shelter, that's really what we need to do at some point.
Casey, is there any match required on these grants, like the big one you were talking about?
Yeah, so yes, and so so especially the Idaho Council on Domestic Violence, yes, there is a 50% match on it.
Ooh.
And I'm not concerned about it this year because we've already matched up to $55,000 without the grant that we received from St. Luke's. And so, plus that doesn't include the in-kind volunteer hours that these lovely ladies have done and many others. So the match part is not going to be an issue for us this year.
Okay.
And hopefully in the years.
It won't be later either.
Right.
It won't be.
Yeah.
I'm really interested too in your abatement strategies, because I've been saying all along that we need to go to the providers and get them to reduce these 90 pill prescriptions of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going? Have you had any movement in that area? Have you?
Yes, please. So Teresa is our SANE nurse, our
Welcome,
sexual
Teresa.
assault SANE nurse.
Hi.
So
my name's Teresa Donahue. I'm the forensic nurse, and I cover 6 counties out here. And I own my own practice, so I do not work for Rise Up to Thrive, but our businesses collaborate really closely, and I volunteer often with Casey. I also an emergency room nurse here at Cascade and work closely with those addicted patients, not only in the forensic arena, but also directly with medical care. Our providers at Cascade Medical specifically have significantly reduced the amount of opiates they are prescribing. When they do, it is typically a maximum of 6 pills, unless the patient is elderly or terminal or has a long chronic addiction issue that needs to be dealt with slowly and carefully. They use other forms of pain medications, such as NSAIDs or other areas that do not have addictive qualities. They also limit any barbiturates that also have an addictive quality. Those are very much under lock and key, and we have to document all of that online where it is searchable and recordable by any provider in the country.
What about dentists?
Dentists?
You've gotten with
Yes,
the dentist?
so typically the standard is if there's a root canal or any kind of bone shaving or issues that they're expecting pain medication, the standard is 6 to 10 pills,
Good.
period. There are no refills. And in fact, even my physicians don't give refills. There just are none.
And now with this system where everything's trackable, even if they were to go to St. Luke's McCall, that provider just searches their name and they will see, oh, you received 10 pills on this date, and they will not do it. We have an agreement.
That's good news. Thank you.
I'm fully in support of the opioid settlement funds, the 10,000. I feel like you may have to help me, but we may have to refer to legal on the other, because I don't know that a county can give you admin fees to a nonprofit. I think we need to research that one. These are taxpayer dollars, and we are specifically limited in exactly how we can donate. So I think we need some legal advice on the other before we move forward.
Well, and that's for FY '24, so I guess Doug will put a little note in his ear that, hey, we gotta talk about this when we get to FY '24.
Right.
See what we can do, but yeah, I'm with Sherry on the 10,000, that's easy peasy.
Right. Well, and I appreciate that, most definitely. And the additional funding would be just obviously for our lease agreements, our utilities, that kind of stuff that you guys have been able to provide victim services in the past. And so that's kind of how we approached it by doing it that way. I mean, if we would prefer non-restrictive, but this is the idea of where we would spend them, and then obviously report back to you how those monies were spent.
But because that was our facility.
Yeah, because you
No,
Correct.
previously.
And so we just
determined
paid
the
the
budget, those in the 01,
utilities
those
because of that.
contributions that are made.
Well, that's
In
right,
order
just a straight out
to-
contribution.
give a nonprofit a gift like this, I believe that it is something that the county would have to do if you weren't there. And this is not something that the county is mandated to do. So that's why we just have got to go and do some on this.
Excuse me.
We support the Economic Development Council, but that is a county function, and that's why we do that and can do that
I
through a
think we can do it
nonprofit.
in a fund basis like we've done for all the other funds.
But if we actually just stated non-restrictive and not like the admin or general funding
That's
or
even
anything.
more problematic.
Okay.
So these are taxpayer dollars we
Right.
have, and so I just want to go and look at the legalities of
Right.
it.
One thing that was mentioned to us during the V Corp meeting was the ARPA funds. Maybe could some of those funds come from the ARPA funds, maybe?
The problem with ARPA funds is that they're not forever.
Right.
So if we load you up now with a bunch of money, then next year we don't have it.
Right.
We're all setting you up for failure.
And we
Right.
haven't made decisions.
Okay.
So,
Right.
so when you're saying budget 2024, you did not expect to start receiving these funds until October, is that
Right,
correct?
correct,
So you're
yes.
covered until
Yes.
October, okay.
Oh, so you don't need the 10 grand right away?
Well, for the
Opioid funds, that would be
yes.
great. Yeah, the opioid funds would be great. Like I said, we have other grant opportunities that we're waiting on and that we'll be applying for. We also have other fundraisers happening, which I'd like to point out too. We have obviously the Bowls of Hope that was replaced by the Rose Bowl, so same concept. We have two different opportunities for people to join us. April 11th here in Cascade, April 12th in McCall. $10 gets you a pottery bowl, all you can eat soup, bread, and drink. Great time. So have some flyers here. Would encourage the county to put it out there because, like I said, we're just trying to make sure everybody knows that Rise Up to Thrive is here and, we're not leaving. So
I'm sorry, I won't be in town.
I appreciate you reaching out.
Get it on the website.
And then also April is Child Abuse Prevention Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So that's kind of how we tie in the Bowls of Hope. So we'll have the clothesline display there and then other art displays throughout the community and other awareness activities. So just
You guys
we'll-
have a Facebook post that we could share?
yes, we do. Yes, it's under Rise Up to Thrive. Mm-hmm.
I'll get on there and do that.
That would be amazing. Thank you. And then obviously Idaho Gives, the beginning of May, we're set up for that. We've been invited to the Luke Combs concert on May 20th to bring in volunteers to help serve concession stands and hand out tickets. And so we're very proactive on how we are finding our funding to make sure that this is happening. Because like I said, this is near and dear to my heart. I've been doing the work for 16 years and I don't want to have to not be able to do the work. And in May, that was the conversation is I need out of victim services or I need to create our own agency. And that's where we're at today.
So you
I
guys,
also-
you guys kind of work with Skip Clapp then on interconnecting on information? Is that how
So-
you guys operate?
We do work with Skip's office on occasion when we need to have conversations about maybe offenders or if we need to report violations or things like that. He was a part of the V Court meeting and was very informational for us. And so, yeah, we do. And we do collaborate with many different organizations. And I've had some really good conversations about, our shelter in the future and so forth, how we could collaborate with other organizations. So it's not just a Rise Up to Thrive shelter. It could be possibly a dual shelter to help others as well. So we have lots of different conversations happening within our communities, and it's going to be exciting once it works. And I have no doubt that it's going to work.
Okay, well, the kind of way I'm thinking of this is we could probably approve the 10,000 today, and then we'll talk about the 24 budget when that comes this fall. Excuse me. Depends on what these two want to do.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the $10,000 opioid settlement fund payment to Rise Up to Thrive.
I'll second that.
Moved and second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So Doug will get you that. And then do remind us to work on the 24 budget when we get.
Okay.
toward
And like
the
I
end
said,
of
we
summer.
want to be transparent about how our monies are being spent so you guys could look at it. And so if there's any additional information you need from our treasurer, we'd be happy to provide that to you as well. This is just a very basic, and like I said, it doesn't include the March numbers at all. So when I speak of, the 50,000, it doesn't include the extra 5,000 that we raised at the snow golf tournament and then the recycling campaign and all that kind of stuff. That's not showing up on here. So,
Well, and we may have more opioid funds by next year. Because
Mhm.
there's more settlements that have happened, but we don't know what that is yet.
right.
And so we're not gonna spend money, we don't know how much we're gonna have, so we'll wait and see on that too as well.
Right.
So,
Well, we appreciate you guys considering that and,
Okay.
and giving us that. So it
Doug,
would
how do
be
you
a
wanna
big
do
help.
this 10,000?
So
Need a
Casey,
plan?
if Rise Up to Thrive could submit an invoice to our office, a claim form for the $10,000 contribution. And then once we receive that, we'll go through the process of the commissioners actually paying that unless you need it today. If you need it today, we would just need an invoice by the end of the day. And just to make sure that you're fully aware, I have an obligation to report how those funds are being expended to the Idaho Attorney General's office. So if I could get a quarterly breakdown of how that $10,000 is being expended each quarter, and if you could submit that to my office directly, and then I will provide that information to the Idaho Attorney General's office.
Perfect.
In case you could go downstairs and get a claim form from Rita, from Doug's office right
Okay.
now. Fill it out, sign it, and then we'll pay bills in 2 weeks.
Perfect. Any other
Okay.
questions? I appreciate you guys' time.
We
But
appreciate your
thank
guys'
you.
help and with this issue, because I know it's a big issue. It's always been.
Yes, unfortunately, it's increasing. So
Glad you're there.
Yeah, glad you're there.
thank you so much.
Okay, we're gonna, what's the word I'm looking for, Doug?
Recess?
Recess until 1 o'clock. We'll see everybody back here.
I'm gonna have to go out to my car and go get a coat.
Could you come here a sec, please?